A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all old-time radio.
Otherwise known as the Mystery Man, welcoming you to another storytelling session here at the House of Mystery. Beware the night of Halloween, when ghosts and goblins creep and glide. Beware the night of Halloween, when witches ride. Yes, next Wednesday, October 31st, is Halloween. But here at the House of Mystery, we're celebrating Halloween today. Now, for the benefit of our radio listeners, I think I should describe how our meeting room is decorated. Ruth and Marilyn and a few of the other girls spent all morning fixing it up for our Halloween party. There are black witches on broomsticks riding across the ceiling, the skeletons dancing along the walls, a great big spooky owl perched on top of my bookcase, and a tremendous jack-o'-lantern hanging from the light fixture in the center of the room. Yes, it looks like we're going to have quite a party. Oh, incidentally, Ruth, what's that big bowl of water on the table?
Well, we're going to bob for apples. You know, you put some apples in the water, and then you stick your face in the bowl and try to pick up an apple with your teeth.
And the one who picks up an apple gets it, is that it?
Yes, but most of the time, all you get is a wet face.
Well, at least Johnny will get his face washed painlessly. Did your mother bake that wonderful Halloween cake on the table, Ruth?
Yes, and it has fortunes in it.
Fortune?
Yes, there's a key and a ring and a penny, a button, a symbol, and a lot of other things baked right into the cake. And when we cut it later and we give everybody a piece of it, whatever they get in their piece tells their fortune.
Well, what happens if I get the ring?
Well, that means you're going to get married soon.
Well, what does a penny mean?
It means you're going to be rich.
Oh, boy, that's for me.
I've got a list of all the fortunes here. I copied them out of the Halloween book.
Oh, we should have a lot of fun with that cake. Hey, what's in that box on the table?
Oh, I forgot. There's some toasteroons that my mother made.
Some toaster what?
Johnny, you've got a memory about as long as a flea's whisker. Don't you remember last Saturday Ruth was telling us about some wonderful cookies her mother makes out of Post Toasties?
Oh, yeah. The recipe's on the side of the Post Toasties box.
That's right. They're called toasteroons. They look wonderful, Ruth.
Well, there are 3 different kinds, Mr. Man. Some with lemon flavor, and some with dates, and some with nuts.
May I have one?
Oh, certainly, of course.
Thank you.
Shall I pass them around now?
Well, you'd better, or Johnny's tongue will drop right out of his mouth.
May I have one, please?
Yes, here's one.
Gee, thanks. I'll take a lemon.
I have one of the best. You're welcome.
Well, they taste as wonderful as they look. I'm sorry we can't pass Ruth's toasteroons to everyone who's listening in because they're really delicious. How about it, Johnny?
They're swell. They're better than candy.
Are they very hard to make, Ruth?
Oh, no, they're very easy. You just follow the recipe on the side panel of the Post Toasties box. Anyone can make them.
Did you hear that, all you House of Mystery radio listeners? Ruth says the toasteroons are easy to make. All you do is follow the simple recipe on the side panel of the Post Toasties box. And they really are delicious. Crisp and crunchy and toasty brown, just like Post Toasties themselves.
Oh, sure are good.
And Johnny hit the nail on the head. They're really better than candy. I'm sure Mother'd be glad to make you a batch of toasteroons, especially since they don't take any sugar at all. Or maybe you can even make them yourself if it's that easy.
And if you got any left over, send them to me. Especially the ones with dates in them.
Now, why should any of the girls send you toasteroons, Johnny? You refused to send that girl in Massachusetts your picture.
Well, she sends me some toasteroons. Maybe I'll send her my picture. Maybe.
Now, don't make any bargains. If you want toasteroons, you ask your mother to make them for you.
Would you like another one, Mystery Man?
Oh, I certainly would. Thank you, Ruth.
Well, how about you, Johnny?
Does a fish like to swim?
Mystery Man.
Yes, Richard?
Well, I was thinking that since we're sort of celebrating Halloween here at the House of Mystery today, you might be able to tell us how Halloween started. I tried to look it up in the encyclopedia last night, but I couldn't find very much about it. It just said that Halloween was originally called All Souls Day.
That's right. And then it became All Saints Day, and finally, All Hallows Day. A hallow, you see, is a saint. The word Halloween was originally Hallow-even, meaning the eve or night of All Hallows Day.
Well, why are all the spooks supposed to come out on Halloween?
Well, that goes a long way back, Johnny, when people worshipped the sun because it gave heat and light and made things grow out of the ground. But then along about the middle of October each year, the sun lost some of its heat and the living things in the ground began to wither and die. And the superstitious people of the day believed that ghosts and goblins and witches were making this happen. And so they locked themselves in their houses until these supposedly lost souls, the ghosts and goblins, withered the grass and the leaves and then returned to the shades of darkness for another year. They didn't know much about the changes of seasons, and they blamed the evil spirits for bringing winter. In fact, that's one of the reasons we celebrate May Day on the 1st of May every year. It's the day when the good spirits supposedly come out and start things growing again. Well, of course, we know that it's the heat of the sun that really starts things growing, but centuries ago they didn't. And so now, all over the world, All Hallows Day and Halloween are celebrated in pretty much the same way.
Yeah, I see why. Well, do you know why everyone cuts faces and pumpkins and puts candles in them? Does that mean something?
Well, Richard, there are a number of explanations as to how the use of jack-o'-lanterns started. The Irish version is that a very stingy man named Jack was barred from heaven because of his stinginess. And because he played tricks on the devil, he was barred from hell, too. And so he found himself a lost soul on Halloween. Well, one night, he went into a field, hollowed out a pumpkin, cut some holes in it, and put a candle inside. And from then on, he wandered the earth, carrying his lantern to light the way. And he came to be known as Jack of the Lantern or Jack-o'-lantern.
Oh, I never heard that.
I believe that the custom of having huge bonfires on Halloween began in Scotland. The fires were supposed to burn the witches and evil spirits.
Some of the kids have a fire on our block every Halloween, but then the fire engines come and put it out.
Well, Halloween fires are dangerous things, especially in the city. You really don't need a fire to celebrate Halloween. There are so many other things you can do.
Some of the boys ring doorbells and mark everyone up with chalk.
Well, that's pretty harmless fun, but fires can sometimes be serious. I think the best way to celebrate Halloween is with a party like we're having. Play games and have good things to eat and maybe even tell a ghost story.
Are you going to tell us a ghost story? A real one?
What's a real ghost story, Johnny?
What about a ghost? I know there aren't any ghosts, but can't we just kind of make believe on account of it's Halloween?
Sure we can. Making believe is sometimes a lot of fun. Now, let's see. A real ghost story.
Something spooky.
Well, I know one. It's not really spooky. Or maybe it is. It's called The Ghost Who Forgot Halloween.
Oh, that ought to be good.
Would you like to hear it?
Oh, sure, yeah.
I would, too.
All right. Now, Johnny, you pull down the shades.
Okay.
And, Richard, you light the candle in the jack-o'-lantern so we can have the right ghostly atmosphere. Here's a match, Richard. Be careful. That's fine. Now for the story of the ghost who forgot Halloween. Kennesaw Smith was a ghost. He was named Wilbur after his great-grandfather, a very famous old ghost, who unfortunately was floating through the darkness one night when he got his sheet caught in a windmill, and that was the end of it. He was named Kennesaw after his uncle, who, sad to say, died of ghostly pneumonia while haunting an explorer at the North Pole. And he was named Smith because that was his father's name. Now, Wilbur, for the most part, was a happy, easygoing little ghost. His father and mother loved him dearly and were certain he'd grow up to be a very successful apparition. But Wilbur had one bad thought. He was always falling asleep.
I'm so tired. I'm always so tired.
Yes, Wilbur was always tired. He was tired at school and he was tired at play, and it worried his father and mother very much. Mother Ghost thought it was because he was a growing ghost, and that as he grew older, he wouldn't be tired anymore. But Wilbur seemed to grow more tired every day. Now, Wilbur went to school just like all boys and girls do, except that being a ghost, he went to school at night. And instead of learning reading and writing, he learned moaning and groaning. And instead of addition and subtraction, he learned appearing and disappearing. And lots of other things, too. Sheet flapping and chain rattling and plain and fancy haunting and floating on air and everything a ghost should know to be a really good ghost. But Wilbur's trouble was that he didn't pay attention in school. And the reason he didn't pay attention was that he was always sleepy. His teacher's name was Miss Spook, and sometimes she became very angry with him. One night in the classroom...
And now, class, I'm going to test you in moaning and groaning. Wilbur Kennesaw Smith. Wilbur Kennesaw Smith. Wilbur, don't you hear me? Up.
Oh, yes, Miss Spook.
This is your final test in moaning and groaning, Wilbur. Go ahead. Moan for me. That, Wilbur, is a yawn, not a moan. Now moan. Oh, good heavens. Is that what you call a moan? Why, I wouldn't even frighten a caterpillar, let alone a human being. Now listen to me. This is a moan. There, you see? Now you try it, Wilbur. I said you try it. Wilbur, you're snoring. You're fast asleep.
Yes, Wilbur was fast asleep, floating over his desk. Well, Miss Spook didn't know what to do with Wilbur. She spoke to the principal of the school, Mr. Rattlebones, and he called Wilbur in for a little talk.
What seems to be the trouble, Wilbur?
Trouble? There isn't any trouble.
Don't you get enough sleep in the daytime? Is that why you can't stay awake at night like every other ghost?
I sleep all day, but I'm still tired.
Well, Miss Spook tells me she can't possibly promote you unless you do better in class. And here it is, only 2 nights before Halloween. Promotion night. You don't want to be left back, do you?
No, Mr. Rattlebone.
You want to go out into the world and haunt people, don't you?
Yes, Mr. Rattlebone.
Well, you certainly don't seem to be trying very hard. You know, Wilbur, I was your father's teacher when he went to this school. Oh, he was a wonderful pupil. I remember when he took his final test in appearing and disappearing. Oh, I remember that very well. Your father, Wilbur, disappeared, and he didn't come back for 2 weeks. 2 whole weeks. That's something.
Was he tired, too?
No, not at all. Why, when he was young, he could moan and groan for days without stopping.
I wish I was like my father.
Well, there's no reason why you can't be, Wilbur. I'm going to have a talk with your teacher, Miss Spook, and maybe I can get her to agree that if you pass your haunting test on Halloween, she'll promote you.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Animal.
But remember, Wilbur, you must pass the haunting test. No pupil in this school can be promoted unless he can haunt. Because if a ghost can't haunt, he might just as well be a human being.
Wilbur was all excited when he got home from school that night. He told his mother and father about the haunting test on Halloween and how, if he passed, he'd be promoted. They were so happy and so proud, Wilbur's father promised to let him use his oldest and rustiest set of chains to plank. And Wilbur's mother said she'd make him a brand new sheet out of ghostly white material. And Wilbur's old Uncle Henry, who'd given up haunting because the night air was bad for his rheumatism, offered to lend Wilbur 2 of his dried-up bones.
Oh, I never knew nothing that could scare the living daylight out of them human beings. Wilbur, the rattling of the dry bones.
And so Wilbur was all equipped to pass his Halloween haunting test with high honors. An old rusty chain that clanked horribly. A brand new sheet that flapped in the wind. And bones so dry they made you shiver when they rattled. What more could any ghost pass? Wilbur was actually floating on air. Now he couldn't help but be promoted. The following night at Ghost School, Miss Spook gave the class final instructions.
Tomorrow, as you undoubtedly know, is All Hallows Day. And tomorrow night is Halloween. The one night in the year when ghosts and goblins are permitted to roam the earth. As is only proper, we are holding our final examinations tomorrow night, the night of Halloween. You will find your assignments posted on the bulletin board. Please note them carefully as you float out after class. Now we will have some practice in moaning and groaning. Wilbur, are you paying attention?
Yes.
All right, then. All together now. Moan. Groan. Moan. Groan.
It was almost dawn when Wilbur floated home from his last night at school before the final examination. He went to bed immediately, slept like a log, and awoke bright and late that same day, just as darkness was creeping over the countryside. He remembered, as he pulled his brand new sheet over his head, that his assignment was to haunt a little graveyard down by the railroad tracks, and at the witching hour of midnight, frighten any human beings who happened to come by. He washed his face with evening mist, brushed his teeth with ectoplasm, ate a big, huge bowl of ghost toasties with invisible milk, and was ready to leave. By that time, it was quite dark, a perfect night for haunting. Wilbur's mother and father floated down as far as the hollow with him. Then they disappeared, and Wilbur was left all alone. He drifted through the valley until he came to the tiny graveyard he was supposed to haunt. There he scurried around among the gravestones and markers, groaning and moaning, and clanking his chain, and flapping his sheep, and rattling his old Uncle Henry's bones. Why, haunting wasn't hard at all. There was nothing to it. In fact, it was great fun. Wilbur floated over the graveyard, wheeling and dipping, making believe he was a ghostly airplane. Suddenly, he stopped short in midair. 2 huge green eyes were staring at him out of the darkness. The next moment, he heard a sound that sent shivers up his spine. Again, he heard the strange, frightening sound. Wilbur turned pale as a human, and he would have floated out of that graveyard as fast as he could if his father's rusty old chain hadn't suddenly caught on a headstone. And it was lucky for Wilbur that it did, because the next moment the huge green eye blinked, and a weird voice came out of the darkness.
Don't be afraid of me, little ghost. I'm just an old doll. On Halloween, I fight the silly people too.
And laughing deep down in his feathers, the old hoot owl flew off the limb of the tree on which he'd been sitting and vanished. Poor Wilbur, trembling like a leaf, loosened the rusty old chain, picked up his Uncle Henry's bones, he'd dropped them in his fright, and with a deep sigh settled himself on top of a large, flat gravestone and draped his sheet around him. He'd suddenly become very tired. He looked up at the sky. Now the stars were winking and blinking, and there was a quarter moon that looked like a silver watermelon rind. All was quiet and peaceful. So quiet and peaceful, in fact, that Wilbur completely forgot it was Halloween, that he was supposed to be taking his final examination. Oh, my, is that Wilbur yawning? Yes, here's Wilbur. And he's falling asleep. Wilbur's fast asleep, almost 2 hours before midnight, with most of his haunting left undone. What will happen now? Well, in a little while, the old hoot owl returned to his perch on the limb of the tree. He looked about for Wilbur and discovered him asleep on the gravestone. Now, he was a wise old owl, as owls usually are, and he knew that the last thing a ghost should do is fall asleep on Halloween. So he hooted and hooted until he was almost blue in the beak. But Wilbur didn't wake up. In fact, Wilbur didn't wake up for a long time. Not until a rooster on a nearby farm started to crow. Then he sat up with a jerk. He blinked 3 times. It was 5 o'clock in the morning, and dawn was beginning to light the sky in the east. And there, seated on the iron picket fence surrounding the tiny graveyard, were his mother, his father, all the other ghosts and goblins, and, worst of all, Miss Spook, his teacher. Wilbur tried hard to hold back his tears. He hadn't meant to forget Halloween. He hadn't meant to fall asleep. He trembled as his teacher got off the picket fence and floated over to him.
Well, Wilbur, what have you to say for yourself?
I'm sorry, Miss Spook.
Is that all?
I didn't mean to fall asleep, but I was so tired.
That seems to be your trouble, Wilbur. You're always so tired. We've got to teach you a lesson. Any ghost who forgets Halloween and falls asleep in the middle of haunting must be taught a lesson. Let me have your sheet.
My sheet?
Yes, your sheet. Thank you.
I'm cold just sitting here in my bones.
That's too bad. You will just have to get used to it. From now on, you're not going to be allowed to wear a sheet. You will have to walk around in your bones until you prove to me that you have learned how to haunt without falling asleep. And until that time, you will not be promoted.
And so, boys and girls, and grown-ups too, this coming Halloween, if you should happen to see a sleepy little ghost walking around in his bare bones, remember that it's Wilbur Kennesaw Smith. He's looking for someone to haunt so that he can be promoted and get his sheep back. So if you do meet Wilbur, be kind to him and let him haunt you, won't you? And in case he should yawn right in the middle of the haunting, tickle him in the ribs to keep him awake, so that this Halloween, Wilbur can be promoted.
Please, let me haunt you.
And that's the story of the ghost who forgot Halloween.
That's not the kind of ghost story I meant.
Oh, didn't you like it, Johnny?
Oh, yeah. It was all right, but,
Oh, I think it was wonderful, Johnny. The trouble with you is you always want creepy things. I'll always remember Wilbur from now on, and if ever I meet him, I will let him haunt me.
I'm sorry if I disappointed you, Johnny.
Oh, no. It was all right. One part made me laugh.
What was that?
The part where you said that Wilbur had a great big bowl of ghost toasties with invisible milk.
You wouldn't like that, would you, Johnny?
No, sirree. Wilbur can have his ghost toasties. I'll take real honest-to-goodness post toasties with the kind of milk you can see.
I can't say that I blame you, Johnny. As a matter of fact, like Wilbur, post toasties are so bubbly light they almost do float.
Have you ever tried post toasties with stewed peaches, Mystery Man?
No, I haven't, Ruth. Are they good?
They're wonderful.
I have them with bananas lots of times.
Mystery Man,
Yes, Richard.
my friend's mother says that hot cereals are better for you than cold cereals in the wintertime. Is that true?
Not at all. It isn't the external heat of the food that counts. It's the amount of heat the food produces once it gets inside your body. Now, for instance, a glass of cold milk produces much more body heat or food energy than a cup of boiling hot water. Up around the North Pole, the Eskimos live all winter long on cold blubber and seal fat because it produces a great deal of body heat.
Carbohydrates produce body heat, don't they?
That's right, Richard. Certain elements in food are called carbohydrates, heat and energy-producing elements. Sugar's one of them, and starch is another, both of which you get in Post Toasties. So you tell your friend's mother that we'll match Post Toasties up against any other breakfast cereal, hot, cold, or lukewarm, for energy and for goodness, winter, summer, spring, or fall. And with all that, Post Toasties taste so good. Always crisp, always toasty brown, always bubbly light. Never soggy or mushy or lumpy. Right, Johnny?
You bet. Post toasties are top. Now, how about let's duck for apples?
I'm afraid we're not going to have time for that while we're still on the air, because I want to tell you something about next week's mystery story.
Can't we even cut the Halloween cake and find out what kind of fortunes we get?
Do you want the fortune of the cake, Johnny? Confess.
Well, I could eat a hunk of cake.
All right, Ruth. Suppose you cut Johnny's piece so we can have his fortune told and incidentally wrap himself around some cake while I tell you about next week's story. It was on the stage of a supposedly haunted theater that the ghost of a great hamlet was supposed to walk, hand in hand with death. The solution of the mystery escaped me until I realized that the only possible answer was the most obvious one of all. Next week, I'd like to see if you can guess, as I had to, the natural explanation of the seemingly supernatural phenomenon in the story I call Death. takes the stage. Well, Johnny, did you find your fortune yet?
No. There's no fortune in this piece. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, here it is.
What is it?
Oh, it's the ring. Johnny's going to get married.
Who believes in fortune? Not me.
No, I'm sure someday you'll get married, Johnny.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, we won't worry about it now. I see our time's up anyway. We meet again next week, of course, at the same time, and for our radio listeners, this same station.
And don't forget, if anybody's got any toasteroons they want to get rid of, send them to me.
Johnny, how can you ask for toasteroons with a mouthful of cake?
I did, didn't I?
I give up. Now, remember to be with us next Saturday to hear Death Takes the Stage. I'll be waiting for you at the House of Mystery. This is Roger Elliott, your mystery man, saying goodbye until next Saturday at this same time. And reminding you that post postage is a goodbye, too.
This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
Good evening, creeps. Tonight, your Mystery Playhouse invites you to listen to Inner Sanctum Mysteries. Come on out, Mr. Host.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum. This is your host to welcome you through the squeaking door. Well, been shopping around for a nice case of murder? Of course you have. And you've come to the right place because the characters on this program simply kill themselves to keep you amused. Why, only the other day we were accused of making murder our business. But we wouldn't do that, friend. Oh, no. Because that would be mixing business with pleasure. And we consider it a pleasure to give some stiff for business. And now, friends, tonight's story is a triangle tale concerning a man, a woman, and a murderer. You've heard it said that those who laugh last laugh best. But we're going to prove that it never pays to get into a laughing contest with a ghost. Because ghosts always get the last laugh.
I know he's dead. His body's been in the grave for weeks. Yet, although I tell myself it's impossible, I can hear him laugh. That raucous, mocking sound haunts me. Same laugh I heard for the first time in the courtroom. He had never laughed during all the weeks of the trial. Never even smiled. But this day, when he came before me for sentencing. John Spencer, you have been found guilty of murder in the first degree. You wish to make a statement before sentence is imposed?
I killed Hicks. I'm willing to admit it now. But he was no good. He got just what he deserved. And everybody knows it. I'm not a killer. I never committed a crime before. And all I ask now is a chance.
John Spencer, the jury took all that into consideration when it recommended life imprisonment. However, I have the power to ignore that recommendation. It is my firm conviction that to allow one man to take the law into his own hands is to encourage others to do likewise. I therefore override the recommendation of the jury and sentence you to be hung by the neck until dead.
No. Judge, please. I've got a girl. We were going to be married. All I ask is to live so I can see her once in a while.
You should have thought of that before you committed murder.
It's easy for you to tell me what I should have done. But you won't always be on top. Maybe someday you'll be down here where I am. When that happens, I hope they throw the book at you just like you're doing to me.
Bailiff, remove the prisoner.
Won't I be laughing when that happens? Wherever I am, I'll be laughing fit to buzz.
Same old story. Prisoner pleads innocence or guilty with good cause. Asks mercy. When clemency is refused, condemned man curses judge and hopes that judge will someday find himself in a similar plight. Spencer's outburst failed to move me in the slightest. I'd heard it many times before. I went home to forget about the Spencer case.
Richard? Is that you, Richard?
Yes, dear. I'll come in as soon as I've freshened up.
Come right now. I've been waiting here all day. Surely it's not too much to ask to just...
All right, Laura, I'm coming.
Richard, I want you to meet my new nurse, Margaret Cummings. This is Judge Thornton that's coming. How do you do?
Miss Cummings, haven't we met before?
Well, that's hardly likely. It's probably my face. It's so ordinary.
On the contrary, Miss Cummings, I should say your face is rather unusual.
Richard, suppose you stop that silly chatter about faces and talk to Miss Cummings about her duty.
Very well. Come into my study, Miss Cummings. We can talk better there. Sit down, please. There's not much to say, really. In the first place, my wife's heart condition isn't really dangerous.
Yes, I gathered that from Dr. Fletcher.
Oh, he told you about my wife, eh?
Oh, yes.
You're a professional person, nurse, and I believe in frankness. It makes things easier. My wife is 11 years my senior, getting on past middle age. She, is a bit worried. Not that I give her any grounds for it. Jealous. You understand?
Perfectly.
She's not an easy person to get along with. You'll have to humor her.
I'll do my best.
And, Miss Cummings.
Yes.
I was just wondering where it was that I saw you before. Escapes me. You know, Miss Cummings, your face is rather haunting. That was how it began. We played a game during those first few weeks. I would ask, Miss Cummings, where was it that I first saw you?
Don't you remember yet?
No, I don't.
Well, I do. And someday, if you're nice, I'll tell you.
We would laugh together. Having the girl in the house made me feel young again. But it didn't last. It ended one evening in Laura's room.
Richard.
Yes, dear.
Put down that newspaper. I want to talk to you.
I'm listening.
Don't you think you're going a bit too far, Richard?
Too far? What do you mean?
I mean Miss Cummings.
Oh.
I won't stand for it. I won't allow you to disgrace me in my own home with a woman who's little more than a servant.
Oh, Laura, for heaven's sake.
I may be a bedridden invalid, but there is a limit.
You're jumping to ridiculous conclusions, Laura.
Ridiculous, am I? I suppose you'll deny you're in love with Miss Cummings. That you've been carrying on with her right under my nose.
Certainly I'll deny it.
I've got eyes, Richard. I've seen you two whispering together. I've watched how you look.
Oh, you're talking utter nonsense. There's nothing between me and Miss Cummings.
Nothing?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Well, then, I'll give you a chance to prove what you say. I don't want Miss Cummings here. Dismiss her.
You want me to dismiss her?
Yes, Richard. I do.
Miss Cummings, this is going to be rather unpleasant. You see my wife?
Yes, I know. She wants me to leave.
Yes. How did you know?
I couldn't help overhearing the conversation.
Well, then you also know why she wants you to leave.
Yes. But you warned me when I first came here that she was jealous.
It's been very pleasant having you here.
Thank you.
I'm going to miss you. Miss Cummings, could I have your home address?
Of course. Why do you want it?
I hope you won't think me presumptuous, but, well, perhaps we might be able to see each other.
Would that be wise?
No, it wouldn't be wise. But I might as well face it. I couldn't hide it from Laura, and now I can't hide it from myself. I love you, Miss Cummings. That night I heard Spencer's laugh for the first time since the day in the courtroom. I set it down as a figment of the imagination born out of a feeling of guilt due to my disloyalty to Laura. I put it out of my mind. I had other things to think about. The slip of paper with Margaret Cummings' address on it was in my pocket. A dozen times during the next week I picked the telephone to call her, but something held me back. It was fear, I guess. Fear that if I saw her again, I would be taking a final, irrevocable step. But then I couldn't stand it any longer without seeing her. I dialed her number.
Hello?
Is that you, Margaret?
Yes, who is this?
This is Richard.
Richard?
Judge Thornton.
Oh, hello. How are you? It's been so long I thought you'd forgotten me.
There's little chance of that. Could I see you tonight, Margaret?
Why, yes, of course. Come over as soon as you like.
I dressed carefully. Examining myself in the mirror, I saw a tall man, still on the right side of 50. Still trim in figure and distinguished in appearance. When I got to Margaret's apartment, my heart was beating fast. Like a boy on his first date. Somehow, I don't know quite how it happened. She was in my arms. I was kissing her.
Oh, Richard.
My darling.
Oh, no, we're being foolish.
Sit down, darling. Here, beside me.
Like this?
That's perfect. Margaret. Would you marry me?
Mary, you can't be serious.
I was never more in earnest in my life.
Aren't you forgetting a little detail?
No. I'm not forgetting about Laura. She has a weak heart. She may die. And if she does...
I wouldn't count on it. Your wife takes very good care of herself. She may live to be 100.
But if she should die, would you marry me?
I don't know. It's not fair to ask me now. Not while your wife is still alive. Ask me later.
Oh, Richard. You have a pleasant evening at the club?
I didn't go to the club, Laura.
No.
No. I lied to you. I spent the evening with Margaret Cummings.
Richard.
You were right. I'm in love with her. I never knew what love meant before. I can't live without her.
You're mad. You don't know what you're saying.
I want a divorce, Laura.
Divorce? No.
I want it immediately.
You can't do this to me. Oh, my heart. What? Now see what you've done.
Laura.
Oh, the shock.
My pills, Richard. Give them to me. Hurry. Hurry, Richard.
I knew she was pretending the heart attack,
Oh,
hoping to play on my sympathy. That was Laura's favorite trick. It always worked before. Not this time. This time I would pretend until I was ready to act. I gave her the pills, watched her take them and sink back on the pillow.
Oh. Thank you, Richard.
Feel better now?
Yes, dear, much better. I don't know what I'd have done without you here. I would have died. Oh, Richard, say you didn't mean what you said before. Don't you see I couldn't go on living without you?
You won't have to, Laura.
Then you won't leave me for that girl.
I'll take care of you. Here, let me make you more comfortable. Pillow needs rearranging.
Yes, it does. Richard, what are you doing?
I'm fixing the pillow.
I don't say.
Lie still. Stop twisting around. This is much different from a heart attack. Laura, she's dead. Dr. Fletcher?
Yes?
This is Judge Thornton. Please come quickly, Doctor. My wife has had a heart attack.
It happened during an argument.
It was nothing important, Doctor. Just a domestic quarrel. And suddenly she had the attack. I gave her the pills, but by that time it was too late.
It's too bad.
I'd only known that her condition had become so dangerous.
Oh, Judge, you've nothing to reproach yourself for. These things happen.
Will you take care of the formalities, Doctor?
Oh, yes, of course.
The death certificate?
I'll list the cause as failure of the heart.
There was no need to act the part of the stricken husband after Dr. Fletcher left. I stood looking down at Laura's body. She was dead. And Dr. Fletcher's certificate would clear me of any suspicion of murder. I was free. Free to marry Margaret. I walked to Margaret's apartment that night. The street was dark. Empty. I had the uncomfortable feeling that I was being watched. Followed. And then I heard footsteps behind me. I hurried my pace. And the man behind me did likewise. Frightened as I was, I decided to stop and confront the follower. He came toward me. His face and figure shadowy in the dark. What do you want? Why are you following me?
You ought to know, Judge Thornton.
Who are you? Come closer so I can... Spencer. John Spencer. It can't be. You're dead.
Dead, am I? Well, you ought to know, Judge.
Now, take it easy, mister. Take it easy. Now, just tell me what happened.
I was being followed, officer. So I turned around to see who it was.
And did you see who it was?
Yes. And that's why I fainted. The man following me was a dead man.
He was, what's that?
The man following me is dead. I know he's dead, officer.
I got to run you in. You're crazy.
I had intended to tell Margaret that Laura was dead. I meant to ask her to marry me. But the encounter on the street drove those thoughts out of my mind. Arriving at her apartment, I went directly to the window and looked out. And there, across the street, leaning against the wall, I saw John Spencer.
Richard, I'm insulted.
What?
You didn't kiss me. You haven't even said hello.
Oh, I'm sorry, dear. That man across the street. He can't be real. And yet, if he isn't...
What man, Richard?
Don't you see him?
No, there's no one across the street.
He was there a moment ago. I turned my head to talk to you, and now he's gone.
Sterling, you're trembling. You must be sick.
Don't look at me like that.
Richard, what's the matter?
I guess I am sick. I'd better go and have a talk with Dr. Fletcher.
Yes, I remember the Spencer case very well, Judge Thornton. You could have spared Spencer's life, but didn't. And now you imagine that he follows you?
Yes.
But the man is dead.
Then it was his ghost that followed me. His ghost I spoke to. His ghost that laughs.
There are no ghosts, Judge Thornton. With one exception. The ghosts we carry about inside us.
What do you mean?
Well, these things you hear and see, these are hallucinations brought on by feelings of guilt. Spencer's been dead for weeks. So the question is, why should you experience guilt feelings at this late date?
I don't know.
Well, psychiatry has an explanation. Quite often in such cases, one refuses to face the guilt object and transfers his guilt feelings to some other person.
What are you driving at?
I'm suggesting that your guilt feelings are not caused by the Spencer incident. And I'm going to ask you a blunt question. Did you murder your wife?
Why, of all the idiots...
Now, just a moment, Judge. Just a moment. I've been rather uneasy about the circumstances of Mrs. Thornton's death.
But you yourself diagnosed it as a heart attack.
I accepted what you told me that night. A superficial examination of the body did indicate such a conclusion, yes, but your wife's cardiac condition was mild. Now, your guilt feelings lead me to suspect...
This murder talk is ridiculous. Were there any signs of struggle, any marks of violence? Of course not.
Mrs. Thornton might have been suffocated.
Oh, nonsense.
Perhaps. At any rate, I intend to recommend to the coroner that an autopsy be performed.
An autopsy?
Yes, it would determine whether or not death was due to suffocation. You should have no objection if I am mistaken.
You meddling fool.
Judge Thornton, put down that paper.
You are so clever.
Stay away from me.
I've gone too far now to stop at another. I've lost my head. I should have agreed to the autopsy. That would have given me a day or two in which to plan my escape. But now, as things were, it would be only a matter of hours before Fletcher's body was discovered. My thoughts twisted and turned in panic.
Maybe someday you'll be down here where I am. Won't I be laughing when that happens? Wherever I am, I'll be laughing fit to bust.
I ran like a frightened child. I needed help, and there was no one to turn to. Margaret. She loved me. She'd help me. I went to Margaret and told her what had happened.
You killed your wife.
For you. So we could be married.
And then Dr. Fletcher.
I had to kill him, Margaret. He was going to recommend an autopsy.
Why did you come here?
We've got to run away. We still have an hour or two. If we could charter a plane to Canada or Mexico.
What makes you think I'd run away with you?
I thought you loved me.
Don't be stupid. I'm going to turn you over to the police.
Margaret, you can't mean...
Can't I? Just watch me.
Margaret, listen before you pick up that phone. Even if you don't love me, even if you won't go away with me, give me a chance. Have mercy.
You make me laugh. Judge Thornton, who never gave anybody else a break, pleading for mercy. Well, turn around and ask the man behind you for mercy.
That's right.
Spencer. John Spencer.
Take another look, Judge.
No, you're not John Spencer. There's a resemblance, but you're not John Spencer.
I'm his brother.
You're the man that was following me.
That's right.
I was tricked. Led on by Margaret to kill my wife, and forced by you to betray myself to Dr. Fletcher. But why? Why, Margaret? Why did you do this?
For revenge.
Revenge?
Yes. The first day I came to your house, you thought my face was familiar. Well, now I'll tell you where it was that you first saw me. It was in the courtroom at John Spencer's trial.
Courtroom? Yes. Yes.
Yes. Remember how he begged for mercy? He told you he had a girl, that he was engaged to be married, and you could have given him his life. But you sentenced him to his death.
What? For you, the girl?
Yes.
Spencer.
He know about this? All this was his plan. His revenge. Hello, operator. Give me police headquarters. I want to report a murder. Yes, that's right, a murder. Tell them it's very important to get here as soon as they can.
I'm waiting now for the police to come. For the trial. For the sentence, which I know will be death. As I wait, my thoughts go back to the courtroom.
You won't always be on top. Maybe someday you'll be down here where I am. And when that happens, I'll be laughing.
Well, Judge Thornton certainly misjudged Margaret Cummings, which was a grave mistake. Why, he didn't have the ghost of a chance with her. She double-crossed him right into the graveyard. Oh, a word of caution. If you must commit a murder, be sure to select the proper weapon. I suggest a sharp-edged axe, because it provides you with a handy alibi. When the police want to know why you did it, you can claim the killing was accidental.
Well, good night, and thank you, Poison Puss, for your Inner Sanctum story, tonight's performance in the Mystery Playhouse. Until next time, creep. Good night. Sleep tight.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum. This is your host, inviting you in through the squeaking door. Come on in. Come in, join our happy little community. And if you're not very careful, maybe you can stay. It's happened to some of our nicest people, and believe me, they've never regretted it. As they always say, it's a place to rest your bones. Remember, ours is the only community that has no taxes, no housing problem, no inflation, and no politicians. Of course, it might seem a little dead to you, but that's the idea, isn't it? Suppose we get down to brass tacks. And I do mean the ones that go around the edge of a coffin. Oh, don't sneer. I've heard better jokes myself. But remember, he who laughs last laughs best. And, brother, when we in the Inner Sanctum laugh, we're laughing last. Meet Laura, a nice girl in her 30s who had an uncle and worried about it.
It was a pleasant life at Green Tower. It was pleasant being mistress of the huge, time-worn house and the fertile acres that surrounded it, and the money that came in regularly, always. It was pleasant being married to Tony, who was very handsome and very gay, and who, they said, had married me for my money. Well, perhaps he had, but he was fond of me anyway. I'm sure he was, even though he was younger than I. But only a very little younger. It was a pleasant life. Until Uncle Edward came home. Tony had gone out to the village, I think, to pick up something or other. I was alone. Tony, the door's open, darling. You know I never lock it. Did you have a nice time buying things, Tony?
True, my daughter. It's Tony.
Oh, Uncle Edward.
Yes.
But I haven't returned from the grave, my sweet.
I didn't think you had. Hello, Uncle.
That welcome could very easily be warmer and still not be overwhelming. I've been away a long time. And for a change, Green Tower seems attractive.
Does it?
Which is rather a pity.
What do you mean?
Selling it.
You're not going to sell Green Tower?
Oh, yes. Yes, I need the money.
Uncle, you can't sell Green Tower.
Well, it's mine. Of course I can sell it.
But...
And who is this Tony?
Tony is my husband.
Oh, really? Well, my congratulations. And I take it he thinks you own Green Tower.
Yes.
And thinks you have money as well.
Yes. Uncle, I
thought I saw someone in the garden.
Uncle, please.
Be still. It's so infernally dark out there, I can't see. It might be some burglar fellow.
He was standing with his back to the room, peering out into the garden. Uncle Edward, who had been away a long time and who had come back at last to shadow my life. He was not a very big man, my uncle. And when I came close to him, I realized that he was barely as tall as I. Uncle.
I can't make out a thing. Blasted shadows.
He was looking out into the garden for an imaginary burglar, while I stood behind him with the old French paper knife my mother had left me. I tried again. Uncle, please.
Now, it's no use, my dear. No use. Go away and stop bothering me.
He didn't even turn around when he said that to me, which made it quite easy when I saw the knife went in smoothly. It kept on going into his back until I thought it would never stop. But the handle broke. Uncle Edward's body stiffened for a moment and leaned back intolerably against the knife. He groaned and he fell. After a moment, I bent over him. He was very silent. As silent as the dark garden. As silent as death. My uncle had come home more than he knew. He wasn't very heavy. And he didn't bleed at all, which was nice. As I dragged him through the French doors into the softness and darkness of the garden. I hurried, because Tony would be coming home. The ground would be softest, I knew, under the rosebuds that I left so. It was there that I dug a grave for Uncle. And it was there that I buried him. Under the lovely roses that would bloom again and again, not knowing or caring who lay beneath them. There was the sound of our car pulling up at the front door, but I was finished. Uncle was under the roses, with a paper knife still in his back. And I was in the drawing room, at the piano, when my darling came in.
Oh, my love?
Oh, Tony, my dear.
Anything exciting happened while I was away?
No, Tony. No. Nothing ever happens here. Nothing. Oh, it's pleasant having breakfast in the garden, isn't it, Tony?
Mm-hmm. Except for, look.
Oh, dear. Just go.
Or windbag.
Well, he's a very nice old gentleman, but he does talk a lot, and...
Good morning! My, what a lovely sight you two make. Charming.
Thank you, Mr. Stokes.
Well, Laura, your roses are almost as lovely as you are.
They're much lovelier, you know that.
And where is your Uncle Edward this fine morning?
My Uncle Edward?
Well, Laura, you upset your coffee.
Oh, yes, I did, didn't I? That was very careless of me. Well, Mr. Stokes, I suppose Uncle Edward is still abroad.
Oh, my dear, I saw him last night here.
Here?
Well, on his way here, at any rate. I was driving. It was quite late. I saw him coming down the road.
Oh, it wasn't Uncle Edward.
No? No, well, that's funny. Well, thought I could have recognized him anywhere.
It wasn't Uncle Edward.
Well, yes, of course. You know better than I, of course. Well, I must be getting old, eh? Well, that reminds me. Mrs. Stokes will have my head if I don't hurry back home. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Who's Uncle Edward, Lawrence?
My uncle.
I could have guessed that.
Oh, yes, of course. I mean, my mother's brother.
A poor relative?
Why do you ask that?
Well, you seemed so upset when Stokes mentioned his name.
Oh, well, he is a bit. He's sponges.
I wouldn't have liked him.
No, I don't think you would. So, isn't it lucky it wasn't Uncle Edward? That you, Tony?
Yeah, I'm going down the road to the Carters. You want to come along?
No, dear. I better go through this mail.
Ah, good old mail. Lots of checks coming in, huh?
Lots of them, darling.
Hey, Laura.
Yes?
Well, why aren't you using your paper now?
My paper? It needed cleaning, and I sent it away to have it cleaned.
Well, it's a pretty thing. Glad you haven't lost it. But I thought I noticed it around last night.
No, I sent it away a few days ago. When I went into town.
Uh-huh. Well, I'll see you later. Bye.
Bye. Until later. And please, Tony, please forget about my paper knife. Please, Tony, forget about it. Oh, hello.
Hello. You're leaving niece, huh?
The niece?
Mind if I come in?
Well, no, not at all.
Very nice. Very nice.
We like it.
Bet you do. Now, where's Ed Cheney?
Ed Cheney?
You can tell him his old pal Trail is here and waiting.
Oh, I'm afraid you've made a mistake.
What kind of mistake?
There's no Mr. Cheney here.
Look here, my girl. This is Green Towers, isn't it?
Yes?
You're Laura?
Yes?
And tell your Uncle Ed I'm here and waiting.
Well, he isn't here.
He got here sometime yesterday. Asked me to come in today. But I'm here.
I'm terribly sorry, but he's away. He's abroad. He is not here.
Oh. Oh, he some money.
Oh, he does.
Yes, 5,000.
I see.
I don't care whether I see him or not. What I care about is the money.
But
I'll wait for him.
Well, you
You
can't.
told me he was coming here yesterday. Today hasn't come. Oh, can't wait.
Oh, well, it might be very awkward. Suppose...
Yeah?
Suppose I gave you the money.
Yeah, would be all right.
And you would go away? You wouldn't wait for Uncle Edward?
I'd go away.
All right, I think I may have it here. I always keep quite a bit of cash around. Expenses, you know. Yes, I do have it. And here you are, Mr. Sale.
Thanks.
Well, you didn't count the money.
I trust you.
Thank you.
You know, I like this part of the country.
Do you?
Yeah. And I just changed my mind.
What about?
Going away. I'm getting on in years. Maybe I'll spend the rest of them here.
You said you'd go away.
I did, didn't I? That was before you gave me the money.
Well, you can't be very long on that.
There'll be more, won't there, Laura? Well, I'd better be running along. Find myself a nice place to live near the village.
But,
You see, I remember Uncle Edward did come here last night. And he didn't throw me any money. I was trying to get a job from him. Oh. But this way is even better. Au revoir.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Well, gents, it's getting late. I'll be gone. My new little
Little gray home in the west, eh? That'd be nice.
Good night.
Old man Trail will be back, Joe. Buy all the drinks you can stand. Hey. I didn't see you. You're dark. What you want? I said, what you... Don't you stand there looking at a knife. Put it in the back. No, don't. I can't.
Well, you're all here waiting, eh? What's the matter? You brave or something? Oh, you are. Then suppose you crawl out from under that sofa and listen to the tale of Laura, who planted her Uncle Edward under the rose bushes in the garden with her favorite paper knife in his back. A Mr. Thrale tried to blackmail her, but one dark night, Mr. Thrale lost interest in worldly matters, lying down in the street with a knife in his heart. The next morning at Green Towers...
Good morning, Bob.
Good morning, darling. Started breakfast already?
Too hungry to wait. Pull up a chair and go to work.
All right, I will.
What's the matter, Laura? You're a bit pale.
I'm all right. Tony, who put those roses on the table?
I did. They're blooming. I know how you love them.
Oh, thank you, darling.
Say, terrible thing in the papers this morning.
Oh? What?
Man stabbed to death in the village.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Stranger hereabouts. He was at the village bar, throwing a lot of money around. Walked out. Somebody evidently wanted the rest of his money, so he got a knife stuck into him.
Oh, how dreadful. What was his name, Tony?
That was a funny name. Hard to remember. Oh, yeah. Thrale. Yeah, that's what it was. Oh, what's wrong?
Oh, no, nothing. I do think, though, that those roses have given me a headache. Their odor's so strong.
Oh, that's a shame. But I'll get rid of it.
Oh, will you? Thank you. I'll go and lie down for a while. Maybe my head will feel better.
Yeah, you do that.
Yes, I may even be able to sleep again.
Laura?
Yes, sir.
Stop wandering about the room.
Oh, I'm just a bit restless.
Got your paper knife back from the cleaners yet?
Paper? Oh, no, not yet.
It's taking an awful long time, isn't it? Hope they haven't lost it.
I hope not. Tony.
What?
There are no roses in this room, are there?
No.
Well, then why is the odor of roses so strong?
Oh, I'm worried.
Why?
Because there is no odor of roses in this room.
Good night, Tony, darling.
Laura, are you sure you don't want me to stay with you tonight?
No. Why won't your own bedroom?
You're not looking well.
I'll be all right.
Well, yell if you want me. Good night.
Good night, Tony. Good night. I'll be all right if only the roses will go away. The heavy, sweet odor of roses always in my nostrils. The deadly, decaying odor of roses. For goodness sake, I was asleep. And it was nothing. No. Oh, no, I don't hear anything. The voice is coming from the garden. Good. I've got to get out of bed and see. So sweet. there's nobody in the garden. Nobody at all. There's the plum tree, just as it always is. And the vegetable patch. And the lawn where we play croquet. And there are the rose bushes, too. The rose bushes. And out of the rose bushes, a man is standing up, and it's my uncle! No! Tony, what did that doctor say? The consultant, I mean.
I don't know. He's stopping by in a little while.
He seemed a very strange man.
Oh, psychiatrist, I
knew he was a psychiatrist, darling. Tony, do you think...
Of course not.
Because it's only that I smell roses when they're on.
You're not crazy, Laura, for heaven's sake. That must be the doctor now. Now, you be a good girl. I'll see him, and I'll be back very soon. You try to sleep?
Yes, darling. But I couldn't sleep. The odor of roses was so terribly strong. I thought, only perhaps if I got out of bed and maybe lay down on the floor where the fresh air from the air conditioning machine was stronger, perhaps there I'd be more comfortable. But... I thought it was funny as I crawled about a bit on the floor on my hands and knees until I found the place where the fresh air was supposed to come. Then I began to laugh. And I laughed. That night I waited till Tony slept. And I went downstairs into the cellar. And straight to the air conditioning machine which kept the house so fresh. And there, in front of the blower which drove the air through the pipes into my bedroom, I found a little bottle. It was a lovely little bottle with a crest on its little fat belly and the words, Attar of Roses on it. The bottle, you see, was open. And then I knew that I wasn't mad. And I also knew that the time had come for me to find my paper knife again. I'm awake, Tony.
Brought you a breakfast.
Thank you, darling. Put it down. I won't eat it just yet.
All right. Hey, you had a good night?
I had a wonderful night. Tony, I think I'm going to be well again.
Good.
Help me out of bed, darling, will you?
Sure, all right.
Just put your arms around me.
All right.
There, I'm up. Oh, don't be in such a hurry to take your arms away, darling. Hold me close.
Oh, Lord.
Ooh. Darling, I forgot to tell you.
What?
My paper knife came back.
With what?
Yes, I have it now in my hand. The hand that's behind your back, Tony.
What?
Yes, Tony, here is my paper knife. Oh, you can take your arms away from me now, Tony. It was quick as Uncle Edward, but I think you'll die anyway, Tony.
Good doctor. Maybe there's a chance. Maybe.
Oh, no, doctor.
What?
I found the bottle of perfume you had placed in the air conditioner that you were using to drive me mad.
Bad. Bad luck.
Very bad luck, darling. You saw me kill Uncle Edward, didn't you? You were the one in the garden, weren't you?
Yeah, saw you.
And then when Thrale came, you knew about him and you killed him, didn't you?
Well, couldn't afford to have you give him money. Who's going to be mine?
Oh, Tony. Oh, Tony, didn't you know it was yours anyway? Everything I had was yours. Why did you have to torture me and try to drive me crazy?
You would have cracked it. And the money would have gone to Abner's. Uncle Ed. I played it safe.
But you didn't, Tony, did you? Play it safe. Because now you're dying. And when you're dead, I'm going to bury you with Uncle Edward. Right in the garden under the rose bushes. I've already told everyone that you're going away, and you are. But not very far. Although it's far enough, isn't it, Tony?
You've won.
Thank you, darling.
And you've lost. Listen. Know what that is? It's an ambulance. For you.
Why?
You're mad. Yesterday, 2 doctors signed certificates of lunacy. I authorized.
I am not insane. I can prove it. The odor of roses was a fake. I can show them the perfume. I can explain it to them.
But how will you explain me? Well, Uncle Edward. That's it, Laura. How will you explain her?
Tony! Tony. Tony! Wait! Wait! Oh. I think if I prove I'm sane, they'll hang me. And I don't want to be hanged. If I say nothing, they'll think I'm insane and they'll send me to the asylum, and I don't want to go to the asylum. And they won't go away. They won't go away.
Well, that's the end of poor Laura, who was a handy girl with a paper knife, but who didn't do so well with her spring planting. Oh, and while I amble down to Green Towers to find out whether Laura's spending the winter in a padded cell or at the morgue, let me give you a bit of earnest advice. Never plant your uncle in the rose bushes if you're allergic to pollen. You might get a bad case of sleigh fever.
Sanctum has been a presentation of the United States Armed Forces Radio Service. Voice of information and education.
That's our ring. Time for Lum and Abner, brought to you by the makers of Miles Nervine and Alka-Seltzer. Well, Miss Hartford, the new general manager, recently hired by Lum and Abner, went over the Jotundown store books yesterday and came up with the startling news. The figures show that the store is bankrupt. Well, we'll soon see what happens next. You know, folks, the danger of a common cold is always with us. And that's why we of Miles Laboratories are always warning everyone to be prepared.
Well, I know what you mean, Mr. Baker. You're going to say, when your tablets get down to 4, that's the time to buy some more.
Well, that's right, young lady. Then you'll be prepared to drop a tablet or 2 of Alka-Seltzer into a glass of water, and after the fizz has died away, drink it down. Now, you'll like the pleasant goodness of Alka-Seltzer, and you'll be surprised at the fast relief it can bring for much of your discomfort.
Why, that sounds wonderful. But what makes the relief fast?
Well, you see, the analgesic pain reliever in Alka-Seltzer goes right to work on your cold achiness because it's in solution when you drink it. So don't delay. Get it today. Now, your druggist has Alka-Seltzer in the package and by the glass at the soda fountain. And remember,
when your tablets get down to 4,
that's the time to buy some more. And now let's see what's going on down in Pine Ridge. Well, as we look in on the little community today, we find the old fellows in the Jotham Down store waiting for their general manager to show up. Listen.
Well, where do you reckon Miss Hartford's at anyway, Lum? This is the first time I've ever known her to be late.
Yeah, this is curious.
Oh, yeah.
I reckon we ought to call over there where she's staying and find out if anything's happened.
No, don't call. Doggies, I sort of like it out her around here. It's the first time I've sat down in this store since she come out.
Yeah, it does feel good to sit down once more, don't it?
Oh, this is more like old times.
Oh, I got to where I felt like a stranger around here.
Well, that's more than I felt. All that work she's had must do around here. I got to where I was so numb I couldn't feel nothing.
Yeah, it ain't right, Abner. Owners of a store having to work so hard.
Of course not.
But I guess it's all over now.
All over?
Yeah, we're bankrupt.
Oh.
You heard what Miss Hartford told us after going over the books.
Yeah, that's right.
And after running this store all these years, we have to finally wind up bankrupted.
Well, Mom, how does she know that we're bankrupted? She ain't hardly been here a week yet.
She found it out from our bookkeeping figures.
Well, them are the same figures we've been using for years. We ain't never been bankrupted before. Or at leastways, I don't think we have.
But, you know, I was thinking that same thing, Abner. We ain't been running the store no different now than we ever did. And we always kept going somehow.
Sure.
Maybe we've been bankrupted all the time, never knowed it. But it never seemed to make no difference.
And Dad, blame her for ever finding it out. That smart aleck thinks she knows so much about figures.
Hey, Grannies, I'm going to go over them figures myself. Down here, I can make them books come out to where we're still solvents.
Still what?
In business. Out of the red. Liquid-fied.
Oh, that, yeah.
No matter how far off them books was, I could always add and subtract and multiply them figures around where they balanced up.
Yeah, Lom, but you generally used them checker scores to make them come out even, didn't you?
No, I got to where I didn't hardly never use them no more.
Well, get out the books and add them up again before she gets here. Don't want to see us bankrupt ourselves, I know that.
Well, I don't neither. We've worked too long and too hard in this store to lose it now.
Yeah.
Say, where are them books?
What?
You didn't do nothing with them, did you?
Well, no. Ain't they sitting there next to the cash drawer?
No, I don't see them nowhere.
Doggies, reckon somebody's robbed us?
No. What little cash we got still here. Them books wouldn't do nobody no good, no way.
No, they ain't interesting to read no story to them at all, are they?
Miss Hartford's more than likely put them in some new place. Ever since she's put in what she calls systems in here, I can't find a dead blame thing. Can't even find the system she put in.
I know it. Body comes in here to ask me for a can of hominy or something, and I walk around here for a half hour before I can find it.
Well, no wonder she's got the hominy all sitting on one shelf right together.
Yeah.
It's getting to be the unhandiest one store in the whole country.
Why, she even take the mouse traps out of the candy counter and put them back there with the hardware.
Oh, yeah, she's got everything all mixed up. Her and her big ideas.
Mom, can't we get shut of her some way?
I don't know how. She's got a 6 months guarantee, don't forget that.
Yeah, that's right.
Of course, chances are we won't be in business 6 months the way things look now.
Well, I'd still like to get shut of her, though. If we're going to go broke, I'd rather do it in peace. Enjoy ourselves while we're doing it, at least.
Well, we're done broke right now, according to her. Wish I could find them books.
Maybe we could get her a job in some other line of work, someplace where they ain't bankrupted long.
Don't know what it'd be.
Say, maybe we could get her in the Girl Scouts.
Girl Scouts?
Yeah, I seen a poster saying they're having the biggest recruiting campaign they've ever had. Having it this week, too.
Well, she's too old for the Girl Scouts.
I know that, but the poster said they needed adults for leaders for Girl Scout troops. She'd be good at that. There's a leader if ever I seen one.
Yeah, that'd be a good thing for her to do, all right. But that ain't exactly like having a job and working for wages, though. That's what she'd have to have.
Well, let's see. Wonder if Caleb Wheat Hunt needs a hand over at the blacksmith shop.
It ain't no use, Abner. Till we actually close our doors here, we're stuck with her. We might as well face it.
I don't know how much longer I can put up with it. Having her boss me around and going through bankrupt at the same time is just asking too much of one human.
Maybe she's quit already, I hope.
Quit?
Well, she ain't here.
No.
27 minutes after opening time right now. You know how she read us the riot act for being just 2 minutes late yesterday morning. And I wish I could find them books.
Let's see. Maybe she put them over there with the overhauls.
I can't find the overhauls, though. They used to be right there with the writing tablets and the fly swatters. Don't tell them where they're at now, though.
Let's see. Maybe... Oh.
What's the matter?
There she comes, Dad, blame me.
Oh, straighten up your necktie, Abner.
Mom, I'll bound you. She's trying to choke us to death by making us wear these neckties every day. I have to sneak in and out of the house so Elizabeth won't see me. She'd start getting suspicious. She found out I was wearing my Sunday necktie for every day.
Miss Emmeline's mad at me on account of Miss Hartford just being here. Necktie or no necktie.
Is Miss Emmeline still jealous?
I don't know. If she'd ever get a look at Miss Hartford, she wouldn't be. Mind out. Here she comes.
I look all right. Is my hair combed all right?
Yeah, you look all right.
Good morning, Miss Hartford.
Morning. How's everyone?
Fine.
Fine.
I'm sorry I'm late, but I've got some good news for you.
What's happened now?
Well, I took the books home with me last night and went over them again. As a matter of fact, I worked on them till about 2 o'clock this morning. And if my new interpretations are right, maybe you're not bankrupt after all.
Well, good. I know them figures would come out right one way or another.
Well, after throwing out all the checker scores, the house numbers of somebody's aunt, Sheboygan Falls, 2 Social Security numbers, and somebody's weight, sundry items, I found out that you have nearly $1,000 in outstanding accounts.
$1,000? Did you hear that, Mom? I told you we're rich.
Well, now, wait a minute. Hold on, Peabody. Do you know what outstanding accounts are?
Why, well, not exactly, but I'm firm. I know that.
Just a minute, Abner. What she means is charge accounts, I think.
Oh, damn.
They might be charge accounts to you, but as near as I can tell, they're just unpaid, long overdue bills. Why, you've got accounts that haven't had anything paid on them for 7 and 8 years.
It couldn't be that long.
Well, according to your figures, it is.
Well, them are what we call our slow accounts.
Slow? Ha! Understatement of the week. Well, the only thing to do is to collect these accounts.
Collect them? And ruin our business?
Well, if you don't collect them, you won't have any business to ruin. That's the only possible thing that can save you. We've got to do it. Now, I made out a list of all these unpaid accounts. Let me see here. Ellis White, 90...
Yeah, that's Eli White.
Ellis White.
Eli.
Well, whoever it is.
Eli.
Take a handwriting expert to make out some of the names in this book.
Eli
White. Yeah. $97.40.
Oh, well, you don't need to worry about him. He paid some on his account just last, let's see, when was it?
It was in 1942, and it was only $5.
Yeah, I believe it was 1942. That was Eli's good year, wasn't it, Abner?
Yeah, that was a year. Had a good crop, yeah. Since then, he ain't hardly got his seed back, you might say.
Well, he'll more likely do better next summer, so he's one fellow you don't need to worry about.
Yes. But how do you explain this? In the years when he doesn't make a payment, he buys a lot more groceries.
Well, natural. When he's got the cash, he can go somewhere else and buy. When he's broke, he has to come here and charge stuff. We got him then.
Well, Mrs. Jessup, $71.18.
Yeah, that's the widow, Jessup. Yeah.
No, we wouldn't want to ask her, though.
Of course not.
She's been so considerate of us. Made a special trip over here to keep us from being beat out of $10 one time.
Oh, yes, she was awful nice to us. We sent her a bill one year, and she come clean over here to tell us that we had undercharged her $10.
Well, did she pay the bill then?
Well, no, she never paid nothing on it, but she just wanted to keep it straight how much she owed us. Never wanted to beat us out of a thing.
There's an honest woman. We need more customers like her.
Oh, yeah.
Emmett Goshen.
55.
Goshen.
I know him, Emmett Goshen.
$55.
Yeah.
Well, we hate to say anything about that right now. See, Emmett's flat of his back. Got the fevers. Ain't been able to work for several months now.
Oh, he's been dead red for a long time.
Hate to add another burden.
Well, what about this one? Milford Avery Spears, $86.29.
Yeah, that's Grandpap. He's our friend.
Yeah.
Oh, me, if we asked him to pay up, he'd get mad and trade somewhere else just show us the world.
He's your friend, huh?
Yes, Mom, he is a true friend.
$86.29.
Yes, ma'am, true friend.
Well, I'm not going to read any more of these names, but if you expect to save the store, something has to be done about these collections.
Well, maybe you're right. I reckon we could send out some bills at the end of the month, or maybe at the end of next month.
Bills? End of the month, nothing. We're going to do it right now.
Right now?
Yes. And you two are going out and collect them in person. Now, here's your list. Now, get to work. And don't you come back without cash.
Well, I don't think Miss Hartford realizes what a gigantic task she has placed on the old fellow's shoulders. And I'm afraid she's much too hopeful of the results of her plan. So join us again on our next regular visit down in Pine Ridge. As you know, friends, the continued loss of sleep can quickly help to undermine your health. You no doubt know just how 1 or 2 sleepless nights can drag you down. Sometimes your head may ache or nervous indigestion may upset you. Well, sleeplessness is often caused by nervous tension. Now, friends, Miles Nervine is made to help relieve nervous tension and to quiet overwrought nerves. And that's why we say to help relax and sleep well, try Miles Nervine. It has helped bring restful nights and tension-free days to thousands. Yes, Miles Nervine is guaranteed to satisfy you or your money back. All drugstores have Miles Nervine in 2 forms, effervescent tablets at 35 and 75 cents or liquid Nervine at 25 cents and $1, both equally effective. Nervine is a quality medicinal product. Caution, use only as directed. Remember, for restful nights and tension-free days, ask your druggist for Miles Nervine. It's Nervine, Nervine, Miles Nervine.
Quiet, please. The Mutual Broadcasting System presents Quiet Please, which is written and directed by Willis Cooper and which features Ernest Chappell. Quiet Please for tonight is called The Thing on the Fourbleboard. Me, I'm a roughneck. Well, I was a roughneck, 20 years ago. A little too old, too slow now. Besides, I got $1 now. I don't have to be a roughneck, you see. Married, got a nice home. Had to meet my wife. Hey, Mike. Her name's Maxine, but she likes to be called Mike. Mike! I guess she's busy out in the kitchen someplace. Besides, she doesn't hear very well. Shame, too, she's so pretty and everything. Well, you'll meet her. Sit down. I was saying I was a roughneck. Well, no, that doesn't mean exactly what you think it means. A roughneck is an oil field worker, specifically a guy in a drilling crew. Call them roughnecks like you call a section hand on the railroad a gandy dancer or a garage hand a grease monkey. Same time you work around a drilling crew for a while, you're going to be a roughneck in every sense of the word, boy. A derrick floor or a Fourbleboard's no place for a guy with a bow tie. Because when you have to fool around with drilling holes that go farther down the ground than it is from the top of Pike's Peak down to sea level, sure they do. The time I was a roughneck, we got this one well down to 7,313 feet. That was a record. But last May, Pure Oil brought one in out in the Natrona Valley in Wyoming at 14,309 feet. That, friend, is almost 3 miles. Quite a hole, that, huh? Sure, I don't think there's an oil man in the world that don't wonder one time or another what's down there, besides rock and oil and gas. Oil that's made out of trees that died 20 million years ago. Oil that's made out of dinosaur bones. Oil that's maybe made out of the flesh and blood of men, maybe, that beat each other to death with a stone axe, ate saber-toothed tiger for lunch. Hey, you get to wondering. You look at the cores that come up from way down there, and sometimes the little shells, trilobites mostly, that was alive when Manhattan Island, where New York is, was under half a mile of ice. We found something once, me and Billy Grunwald, and something found us. I'll tell you about it. We were down to around 5,400 feet. We'd set casing. We began to get water, so we had to stop drilling and cement off. Well, you see, when water begins to seep in the hole, you pull your drill pipe, then you let down a cementing shoe inside the casing, and you plug up the bottom of the hole, casing and all, with quick hardening waterproof cement. Then when it's hard, you drill through the cement, go on down, and the cement outside the casing at the bottom keeps the water out. Well, we had the drill pipe all pulled and cracked. The cement was setting, see, so we was shut down, waiting for it to harden. We'd been coring just before. Well, you see, a core drill is hollow, and as the bit digs down, it stuffs the drillings up inside it, so when you pull it out, you got a sample of the kind of stuff you're going through. And a geologist can tell a lot from that. So there's nobody around the rig except me that night. The rest of the crew's gone into town. I was toasting some pork chops over the forge for my supper. I heard a car pulling up. Look out, it's Billy Grunwald, the geologist, and I give him a hello. Hi, Billy, come and have a pork chop.
Hi, Porky. Where's everybody?
They all went to town. I'm the whole crew.
Yeah, I had 3 blowouts between here and Oxnard.
Yeah, I wondered where you was. Ted said you'd be in here about 3.
Yeah, I would have been, except for my tough luck. Oh, I'm dead.
Yeah, hungry?
Starved.
Yeah, I got 7 pork chops. And bread. And some coffee, kind of.
Swell. Yeah, I got a bottle in the car.
We're going to have a banquet.
Hey, where's that core? That's what I came up here to look at.
Yeah, back there on the bench. Look at it after supper.
Hey.
What?
Didn't you say you were all alone here?
Uh-huh.
I thought I heard somebody talking.
Yeah. I don't see anybody. Keep an eye on that pork chop. You won't have any supper.
Yeah, I'm watching it.
Yeah, let me put the coffee on. Like so.
When'd you finish cementing?
This morning. Last tower only made about 10 feet of holes, so Ted shut down before we get flooded out of house and home.
Funny about that water.
How?
Oughtn't to be any at that level, according to my figuring.
Well, there is.
Is it salt?
Sure, right out of the bottom of the ocean.
That's funny. Well, maybe I'll be able to tell something from the core. Yeah, I hope so. The last core I looked at, I'd have sworn we were getting into shale.
Ain't seen none yet from the cuttings.
That's funny.
Here, your pork chop's done. Yeah, take some bread.
Yeah, thanks. Oh, man.
Good, huh? Yeah, put on another. I had 2 already before you come.
Yeah, much obliged. Yeah, you never can tell what's down there. You get it all mapped and plotted out, all the straighter. And all you know is what comes out of the hole.
Yeah. I'd like to go down there sometime if I was little enough.
Never get you down a hole.
Yeah, you'd fit. You're skinny.
I'll stay up here and look at the cores, Bud. Where is that one?
Behind you. Over there.
Oh. Well, I'll have a look at it.
Well, why don't you wait till you finish your supper?
I'm just going to look at it. Put on another pork chop for me.
Okay.
Well, I wish those screech owls would keep...
What's the matter?
Hey, wait a minute, Porky.
Well, what did...
Listen.
What's eating you?
You know, I'd have sworn there's somebody up there in that Fourbleboard.
Ah, you're crazy. There's nobody up there.
Getting against those stands of drill pipe.
Ah, they're just rack crooked. One of them slipped. Come on back and eat your pork chop.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. Only
what's you so jittery about, Billy? Come on, eat your sandwich. Here.
Yeah, well, thanks, Porky. I don't know. I'm just naturally that way, I guess. I'm always scared of the dark. Doggone it, I hate to be a baby, but I can't help it.
Scared of the dark? Honest?
Stupid, ain't it?
Oh, I don't know. Everybody's scared of something. Me. Spiders scare the tar out of me. Black widows. Oh. Now I know how you feel, Billy.
There another light over here?
Yeah. Here.
Ah. Oh. That's better. Hey, listen, Porky. Go out to the car and look in the left-hand door pocket and bring back that bottle, will you? That's what I need.
Okay, kid. Okay. So I picked up a flashlight. I turned around and went outside. I found a car. And I got the bottle. And the floor of the derrick was all lit up, and when I saw a beam of light suddenly flash up toward the Fourbleboard, I laughed. Billy Grunwald and his ideas. Sure, I looked up. There wasn't a darn thing up there except the drill pipe racked against the fingerboard. Oh, this Fourbleboard. Well, you've seen oil derricks or pictures of them. Do you know that little platform that runs around the outside of the derrick about halfway up? Well, that's the Fourbleboard. Well, you see, drill pipe comes in lengths, and you handle them with several lengths screwed together so as to save time getting them in and out of the hole. 2 lengths is a double, 3 is a treble, 4 is a fourble. When you pull the pipe, you heist it up inside the derrick with a traveling block, which moves up and down from the crown block at the top of the derrick. And then when a fourble of pipe is pulled out, it's held in the rotary table. You break the joint with tongs, like a great big Stilton wrench, you see. Snub a cable that's fastened to the handle over the cathead on the drawworks, and that breaks the joint. Then you hold the tongs on the pipe, give the rotary table a few turns to unscrew it. You heist away with the traveling block and swing it over against the fingerboard, lean it against the derrick. The guy up on the Fourbleboard takes off the traveling block. You do it all over again till you got all the pipe out, you see? Well, there wasn't anybody up on the Fourbleboard except a screech owl, and it flew away. So Billy turned his light off, and I come on inside. And just as I come up the steps, he let out a yell.
Yay!
What's the matter? What's the matter, Billy?
Hey, come here. Look here.
Well, what's it? Look, Porky. Where did you find that?
Now, listen, Porky, I give you my word. That was embedded in the core.
Why, it couldn't be.
I tell you it was. Look where I dug it out. You know what? That rock there comes from a mile underground. And it's been a mile underground for 1,000,000 years. And look at this.
And I did look. And what he was holding was a gold ring. And it was all carved and filigreed just like jewelry. And there wasn't any kidding about it. It was real. No, wait a minute. Hang on, I ain't done. I poked at the core of rock that looked like a kind of petrified salami or something. And then it was my turn to pretty near jump out of my pants. Because right alongside the place where Billy dug out the ring, there was a mud-covered but very unmistakable finger. I picked it up, and it was cold, and it was heavy, and it was solid rock. At least it felt like solid rock. And I looked at Billy, and Billy looked at me. He started to rub the mud off this here stone finger. And as he rubbed it, it began to disappear. No, he could still feel it, he said, but when the mud was gone, neither one of us could see it. And he dropped it to the derrick floor. It went clunk, and we couldn't find it any place. So you know what we done? Well, we took that bottle and we took and finished it, Billy and me. We finished it in one slug apiece, and it was a full pint of bathtub gin. It tasted just like so much well water to me. And then we sat down on the derrick floor and we looked at each other. We didn't say a word. My eyes got heavier and heavier. The last thing I remember was I heard some kind of noise that seemed to be coming up from down the Fourbleboard 80 feet above us. I shut my eyes a minute. I guess I went to sleep. And I had awful dreams. Black Widow Spiders crawling all over me with gold rings on their legs. Things I could hear but I couldn't see up on the Fourbleboard. Billy Grunwald climbing up the ladder outside the derrick in the moonlight. Faces looking at me, and I couldn't figure out who they were. Then I was waked up by a horrible scream. A crash alongside me that shook the whole derrick. I opened my eyes to see Billy Grunwald lying on the floor 2 feet away with a broken neck. With a broken neck and his left hand, well, he put the gold ring on the little finger of his left hand, and the way his arms were spread out, his left little finger and the ring were gone. Well, friend, I got out of there. I run down to where Billy had left his car, and I got in. I stepped on the starter. And I couldn't get it to go, and then I remembered after I pretty near run down the battery that Billy had taken the key. I wasn't going up there and go through a dead man's clothes to get it. So I sat there in the car and shivered all by myself till daylight. And then Ted and the crew came. Afterwards, a state cop, and everybody in the world was asking me questions.
Did you and Billy have a fight, Porky?
I told you we didn't, Ted.
But you had been drinking.
We only had that little pint, Ted.
Oh, what was he doing up on the Fourbleboard?
Did you threaten him, and did he run up there to get away from you?
Listen, cop, don't be a chump. Billy Grunwald and I were good friends.
Then why'd you push him off the Fourbleboard?
I didn't, I tell you. I wasn't up there.
Oh, what did he go up there for?
I don't know. I was asleep.
How do you know he was up there?
I didn't say he was. You said so. Besides, how would he break his neck if he didn't fall from way up there?
Well, look, officer, I think it was just another accident. I mean, we haven't got anything on Porky, and personally, I don't believe he did it.
Well, it's mighty mysterious.
So it is. But we got work to do. Now, how about it? That cement's hard down there. I want to start drilling again, and I'm short-handed. Will you let Porky stay here till I run in my pipe again, and, well, then you can take him and ask him questions till you're blue in the face.
Well,
Okay. Let's get rolling. You got steam up, Happy?
I will, sir.
All right. Porky, you go from the Fourbleboard.
What? Not me, Ted.
Oh, don't be such a boob. There's nobody up there to shove you overboard. And you can put a safety line around you if you want to. And besides, you're getting paid to do what you're told. I've lost too much time already. I'll get going.
So, okay, I go up on the Fourbleboard. And you can bet I took a good gander around before I did anything else. No, I couldn't see a thing. So I signaled to the driller to let down the traveling block, and he did. Came sailing down from up above. I was just reaching for it to pick up the first 4-bullet drill pipe. Gave a big jerk, and the cable broke. It dropped and nearly pulled me off the Fourbleboard. And it landed right on top of Ted. And if you have any idea what a guy looks like after 2 tons of metal land on him from 80 feet up, yeah, you keep your ideas to yourself. Well, that was enough. 2 accidents in a row. The whole crew quit. They wasn't going to wait for a third. And it was Ted's money that was paying off. There wasn't any more, and as far as I know, the abandoned derrick is still there. And that was 20 years ago. Oh, I forgot to tell you something. That traveling block was right in front of my face when it broke loose. It was hanging by steel cable, 3/4-inch steel cable. And I saw that cable break right before my eyes. It looked just like a piece of string when you snap it between your fingers. I could almost see the fingers. You know what? There was something up there on the Fourbleboard with me. And so a couple of days later I came back. I don't know if there's anything in the world as desolate, as dismal, as dead-looking as an abandoned oil well rig. There it stands like a skeleton off on a deserted side road in the bare yellow hills surrounding it, and Yeah, it's the deadest thing you ever saw. I sat in my car for a long time looking at it. Everything was just the way we'd left it. I looked into the floor. The smashed traveling block was there alongside the rotary table. There was a little mutter of steam from the boiler. That was all. Then I heard a tinkle of something as it hit the ground alongside me. I looked around. There wasn't a soul in sight. But at my feet was the gold ring that Billy Grunwald and I had found in the core of rock that came from a mile underground and from 1,000,000 years ago in time. And I heard a little sound. The sound of a kid crying. And there wasn't any kid up there. And I heard it again, and it came from above my head, and I took out my revolver. I loaded it carefully. I started up the ladder to the Fourbleboard. No, there wasn't anything up there, nothing I could see. There was a voice crying. The voice of a little kid. And then there was a movement behind the rack of drill pipes, and I saw the pipe move, and I yelled, "Come out of there, whoever you are! Come out or I'll start shooting!" And the stand-up pipe shivered, and I thought, what can it be that can handle that heavy pipe like jack straws? And then there was a crash. The whole stand-up pipe fell over, and I just got out of the way in time. And I was alone on the Fourbleboard with the thing. But I couldn't see it. I felt the platform tremble under my feet again as something moved toward me. I fired 2 or 3 shots. And nothing happened. I started backwards. I knew it was following me because I could hear it meowing like a cat. My feet tripped over something. I saw it was a big can of red lead that somebody had left up there. Without thinking, I picked it up and I threw it at the sound, and it splashed. And there it was. And I wish the face of a little girl, frightened, crying with hunger and terror. Hands like a human being, and a finger missing from the left hand. And the body. Well, I'll tell you about that. I told you how I'm scared of spiders. But I knew where it came from. It had come from the bowels of the earth, come riding up on the drill pipe as we yanked it out of the well. Come to an alien world, and was lost. It stood there dripping with red paint, blood red from head to foot like some horrible dream. And it put its hand on my arm. Its hand was stone. Living, moving stone. And it looked into my eyes and mewed like a lost kitten. "20 years ago, I discovered many things about it, what it used for food, that it was deaf, that it was invisible and couldn't see people when it was invisible, that if you sprayed it with mud or paint or grease paint, makeup, then it could see people. And believe me, I didn't want to see its body. I can see that in my nightmares. But its face, I can't help wanting to see that pathetic little girl face. I'm afraid maybe I've fallen. But it's very beautiful. And when it's well made up, it's... But making it up, rubbing grease paint on a stone face that looks at you and smiles, and it makes sounds like a lost kitten yet. I can disguise the body in long dresses. She can't hear very well, and when she's hungry, I have to stay out of her way. I found out what she likes to eat, remember? No, sit still. Sit still, do. Sit still or I'll have to shoot you. I want you to meet my wife. Or rather, my wife wants to meet you. Mike? Mike? There she is. Come on in, dear. The title of tonight's Quiet Please story is The Thing on the Fourbleboard. It was written and directed by Willis Cooper and featured Ernest Chappell. And Dan Sutter played Billy Grunwald. Pat O'Malley was Ted. And Cecil Roy was also a member of the cast. As usual, music for Quiet Please is played by Albert Berman. Sound by our good friend Albert April. Now, for a word about next week, here is our writer-director, Willis Cooper.
Well, I'm reasonably sure that all the characters in tonight's stories were completely fictional. At least I, for one, hope so. Next week, the story is called Presto Changeo, I'm sure.
And so, until next week at the same time, I am quietly yours, Ernest Chappell. This program was heard in Canada through the facilities of the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
The Kraft Foods Company presents Willard Waterman as the Great Gildersleeve. The Great Gildersleeve is brought to you, partially transcribed, by the Kraft Foods Company. And Kraft, you know, makes the famous pasteurized processed cheese food Velveeta. Velveeta has a wonderful cheddar cheese flavor that's rich yet delightfully mild. It's delicious, and it's the finest quality cheese food you can buy because it's made by Kraft, the name that for years has meant only the finest in cheese and cheese foods. Get a package or loaf of Velveeta tomorrow and enjoy the cheese food of top quality, Velveeta, made only by Kraft. Well, there's a nip in the air this morning. The shocks of yellowing corn are frosty in the fields. The pumpkins have been harvested and given faces with toothy grins, for it's Halloween. In the schools, the children are fidgeting at their desks with impish gleams in their eyes, waiting for darkness to fall. In Floyd's barber shop, the Great Gildersleeve is getting himself a Halloween haircut.
Careful with the scissors, Floyd.
I'm watching, Commish.
Floyd, what'll we jolly boys do tonight?
If you don't hold your head still, the rest of us might be attending a wake.
Well, it's Halloween. We should do something special.
You mean you ain't booked for tonight?
What do you mean by that?
Well, since that classy Mrs. Winthrop come to town, you ain't had time for us jolly boys.
Yeah, oh, Floyd, you know the club comes first with me.
Gee, I thought sure you'd be stepping out.
Well, she's busy. Yeah, I mean, she's going to a shindig at the country club.
Ah, and you ain't invited, huh? You mean all my tonsorial skill has went for no avail?
Well, I'm afraid so, Floyd. We fellas should be able to cook up something.
Well, we can come down to the club and sing.
We'll be minus our bass. Police Chief Gates has to be on duty tonight to keep an eye on the kids.
Yeah. When we was kids, we used to give our constable a bad time.
Yeah, I guess we all did.
I remember one Halloween we soaped the windshield of his old Model T and dared him to catch us.
You were asking for it, Floyd.
Nah, we had an ace up our sleeve. He jumped in the car and took off, but we had his rear axle chained to a fire hydrant.
Oh, my goodness.
You should be glad you wasn't the water commissioner that night. Well, there you are, Commish. You want to look at yourself in the mirror or just go out happy?
It looks fine. You know, Floyd, I have an idea.
No kidding.
Why don't we jolly boys throw a party for the kids tonight? They'll enjoy it, and we'll help keep them out of mischief.
Oh, let them live, Commish.
Now, Floyd, a lot of communities do things like this. We can stock the club with apples, noisemakers, candy, and games.
Well, I suppose the kids will have fun, and we'll be doing Chief Gates a good turn.
You bet. We'll notify the judge and Peavy, and everybody will have a great time. You'll take some money out of the treasury and buy prizes for the best costumes.
Hey, you can wrap some vines around your neck and win a prize. You got a head like a pumpkin. You're only kidding, Commish.
It's going to be quite a night. All the Jolly Boys went for my idea. I don't know what they'd do without me. It's only 5 o'clock. Hardly dusk yet. Are the black cats out already? Yeah, I'll bet that's Leroy behind the hedge. I'll sneak around the other side and take him by surprise. Kids can't wait until dark to scare somebody. Well, I'll turn the tables on him. Yipe! Leroy!
Hi, Unc. Sorry I come and thought I'd scare you.
Well, you didn't. What are you doing with those batteries behind the hedge?
I got an electric wire running to the front doorknob, but it isn't working.
Oh? What's it supposed to do?
Well, it's a neat trick for tonight. I wire it to somebody's doorknob, then ring the bell and run. When they open the door, they get a shock.
Leroy, come in the house.
Oh, Unc, what for?
Well, I have a much better idea about how you should spend your evening.
Yeah?
Step inside, my boy.
Oh! Hey, now it's working!
Leroy! It's tricks like this I want to talk to you about.
Sorry, Unc.
Well, I'll overlook it this time. Leroy, rather than go running all over town tonight, how would you like to come up to the Jolly Boys Club to a party?
A party?
Yep. We're throwing a party for all the kids. The judge, Peavy, and Floyd. We've all chipped in to buy apples and candy and soda pop. All you can eat, and you may win a prize.
Gee, that's keen. Can I play that corny piano, Unc?
Sure. Anything you want to do, Leroy. It's kids' night tonight.
Oh, boy. I'm going to the Jolly Boys. I'm going to take a bath.
He wants to take a bath? This is a better idea than I thought.
Hello, Unky.
Hello, Marjorie.
What's Leroy so excited about?
Well, the Jolly Boys decided to entertain the kiddies this evening.
Oh?
Show them a good time and keep them out of trouble.
Oh, that sounds like a wonderful idea.
Mine.
Unky, Mrs. Winthrop phoned a little while ago.
She did?
Mm-hmm. She's at the country club and wants you to call her there.
Well, I'll call her right away.
Unky, what if she invites you out there tonight?
Well, that'd be a little awkward. The Jolly Boy... Hello? Will you page Mrs. Winthrop, please? Thank you. Yeah, I wonder if she does want me to join her party. Well, she's too late. Just have to tell her I have other commitments. Just her hard luck. Hello, Paula. This is Throckmorton. Is that Halloween dinner dance? Thanks for inviting me, but... Well, it's like this, Paula. I'll be there. Marjorie. What's that, Paula? Oh, no. I was going to the Jolly Boys Club, but they'll understand. See you around 8-ish. Goodbye. What a woman.
Uncle Mort, I know you'd rather be with Mrs. Winthrop, but what about your party?
Yeah, Marjorie, the party will go along just the same. I've arranged everything. Jolly Boys will have fun. The kids will have fun. I'm the only one who'll be missing out.
All right, Unky.
Sure. I'll run down to Peavy's and explain that I'm needed elsewhere. After all, I've made my contribution. I sparked the idea. Leroy, disconnect the door now. Hello, Peavy.
Hello, Mr. Gildersleeve. What can I do for you?
Peavy, about the Jolly Boys party tonight.
Well, I'm ready for it. I'm here to tell you.
Yes, well...
Look at this box of favors I have for the kids. False faces, noisemakers,
Nice.
Horns. Just listen to this.
Oh, you'll have a lot of fun, Peavy.
Oh, I'm sure we will.
Greetings, gentlemen.
Well, hello, John.
Hello, Horace.
Gildy, I saw you come in. I want to find out what costume you're wearing to our party tonight.
Your costume?
Is the water commissioner coming as a big fat mermaid?
Well, Judge, I was about to tell Peavy.
I thought I'd fool everybody and come as a witch.
A witch, Peavy?
Yes, but Mrs. Peavy is using the broom this evening. Her garden club is having a party, too.
Well, whatever we wear, we'll all have a wonderful time. Gildy, you did a splendid thing when you suggested our little party. I congratulate you.
Mr. Gildersleeve's all right.
Yeah, thank you, fellows. But, as I've been trying to say, I hope you'll all have a good time. Unfortunately, I won't be able to attend.
How's that?
What's the trouble, Gildy?
No trouble, Judge. And I'm sure you men will understand the situation when I explain.
Well, start explaining.
Well, there's nothing I have to apologize for, Peavy. I've done my duty to the Jolly Boys party. I got it rolling. I'm sending food and favors. If I have to miss the party, it's my loss.
Well, stop beating around the bush and tell us.
Gildy, could it be that you've made a date with Mrs. Winthrop?
Oh, Judge. Well, actually, she made it with me.
Oh, fiddlesticks.
She did, Pete. She phoned and asked me to join her for the dance. I'm sorry, fellows. Well, got to run. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Peavy, aren't you going to say goodbye to me?
I'm not going to say anything to you, turncoat.
Fellas, I can't go to both parties. Can I help it if I'm wanted in two places at once? It just happens that I'm popular.
Well, now, I would not say that.
George, it's 8 o'clock. I'm doing Paula's party right now. You wonder why it's always so hard to get a collar button in. Oop, you dropped it. Now where'd it go? You must roll under the dresser.
Uncle Mort.
Yes, Marjorie?
Bronco and I are leaving now.
You all right, my dear? You wish I was.
Unky, don't forget to lock the garage door.
Yeah, I won't. Everybody's off to their parties but me. Why do you leave everything for me to do? Yeah, here's my collar button. What happened to it? Oh, it's a dime. Doorbell, Bertie! Confusion. Yeah, here it is. Dizzy. Good thing I have one of those snap-on bow ties. I can fix it on the way down to the car. Where's my coat? I can't get my arm through this sleeve. My coat's not that tight. Yofer. Bertie! Bertie, who sewed my sleeves together?
So that's why Leroy wanted my needle and thread.
Coat sleeves. What a boy.
I'll rip it out, Mr. Gildersleeve.
Thanks, Bertie. Who was at the door?
Another trick-or-treater. Good thing you stocked up with treats.
Well, Halloween's for the youngsters, Bertie.
Yes, sir, and they're sure having fun tonight. Bertie's giving handouts to spooks, black cats, skeletons, and to one boy dressed like a gorilla. I hope that was a boy dressed like a gorilla.
Chances are it was, Bertie.
Yes, sir. Mr. Gildersleeve, I have to get the scissors for this job.
Well, please hurry, Bertie. I'm late for a very important date.
Yes.
Never mind, Bertie. You get the scissors, I'll get the door. Hope the candy holds out. Well, hello.
Hello.
You're the smallest ghost we've seen. Why'd you bother to ring the bell? Why don't you just come in under the door?
I'm lost.
Lost? Oh, my goodness. You're awfully small to be out alone, aren't you?
I wasn't alone when I started, but I couldn't keep up.
Well, I guess it would be pretty hard to get around in that flour sack. What's your name, little boy?
Mike.
Mike who?
Mike Smith.
You, Smith. Well, there are a lot of those.
Here she comes, Miss Gildersleeve. Oh, who's that little fella?
A little lost ghost, Bertie.
Lost?
Yeah.
How'd you get lost, honey?
They ran away from me.
He couldn't keep up with the other kids, Bertie. Yeah, I wonder if I could find them.
Oh, Miss Gildersleeve, you run on to your party. They'll come looking for him.
Yeah, I guess so. What if they don't?
I'll call you at the country club, and I'll call the police.
Well...
Gosh.
Oh, Mr. Gildersleeve, he's scared. Look at the little fella grab you round the legs.
Don't you run away from me, too.
No, Mike, you don't need me. Bertie will take good care of you until your friends come back. If they don't find you, the police chief is a pal of mine. He'll get you home. You see, I have a date. You understand, don't you, Mike? Oh, the date can wait.
The Great Gildersleeve will be back in just a minute. There comes a time in the life of almost every homemaker when, for some reason or another, the food budget just won't stretch as far as it should. So let me suggest this. Next time you have budget trouble, let Velveeta be your handy helper. Cooked with Kraft's famous pasteurized processed cheese food, you can melt Velveeta for a wonderful, smooth, golden cheese sauce to add to leftover pieces of meat or seafood, or to use in a macaroni or vegetable casserole, or just to pour over plain toast. And this Velveeta sauce is so easy to make. All you do is melt a half pound of Velveeta in the top of your double boiler. Velveeta melts smoothly, perfectly. Then stir in a quarter cup of milk, seasoned to your particular taste, and there you have it. An easy cheese sauce that'll help you with so many budget main dishes. A cheese sauce that'll give those budget meals a wonderful, rich, yet mild cheddar cheese flavor. And a cheese sauce that'll add new nourishment to your meals, too, because Velveeta is so rich in important food values from milk. And, of course, Velveeta is digestible as milk itself, so your whole family can enjoy it often. Stop at your grocer's tomorrow and get a package or loaf of Velveeta. Remember, for money-saving meals that are nutritious and mighty good-tasting, too, let Velveeta be your handy budget helper. Just be sure you get genuine Velveeta when you buy. It's the cheese food of top quality, and it's made only by Kraft. Earlier this morning, the Great Gildersleeve didn't know how he was going to spend Halloween, so he promoted a party at the Jolly Boys Club. But he ducked out on that when he had a chance to have a date with the attractive Mrs. Winthrop. Then a little lost boy attached himself to the water commissioner.
Now, Mike, how long had you been lost from your little friends when you stopped in here to trick or treat?
I don't know.
Well, we called all the Smiths in the telephone directory. You don't belong to any of them. What's your father's first name?
I don't know.
What's your mother's name?
Mama.
How you make it out, Miss Gildersleeve?
I haven't learned much, Bertie.
What street you live on, baby?
I'm not a baby.
Watch it, Bertie.
Oh, excuse me. Where do you live, Mr. Mike?
He doesn't know, Bertie.
Well, I've only lived there a little while. I want to go home.
Well, we're trying to get you there, Mike.
Hi, Unc. What's going on?
Leroy, this is Mike.
Hi.
Hello.
Mike was out for tricks or treats and got lost, Leroy.
Yeah?
Poor little fella.
He doesn't know where he lives.
What are we going to do with him? Raise him?
We'll find out where he belongs.
How?
I don't know.
I know. I'll call the police station.
I haven't done anything. I'm just lost.
Leroy, I called the chief half an hour ago. Nobody's reported a missing boy.
Maybe he's a girl.
I am not.
Careful. Little ghost has a temper. Leroy, why aren't you down at the Jolly Boys Club with the other kids?
Since you weren't going, I decided to go to Piggy's. I just came home to get my electric doorknob buzzer.
Oh, that.
Mr. Gildersleeve, why don't you take Mike down to the Jolly Boys Club? Maybe his crowd dropped in down there.
Not a bad idea, Bertie. Practically every kid in the neighborhood will be there. Somebody will know who he is.
I know who I am. Where do I live?
Right. I'm doing the best I can. You wait till I get my hat out of the coat closet. Yikes! Well, here we are, Mike. That's the Jolly Boys Club right upstairs there where you see the light.
Is that a big bat in the window?
No, that's Judge Hooker. There'll be a lot of kiddies up there. I'm sure some of them will know you.
Mister, you're a nice man to help find me.
Yeah, I'm glad to do it, Mike. And after we get you home, maybe you can help me sometime.
Do you get lost?
Well, I'm afraid I've lost out with my girl. Yeah, let me help you up on my shoulders.
Whee!
Yeah, that's it. I'll take you up the stairs piggyback.
Boy, this is fun.
You bet. Say, I didn't hear any noise up there. Wonder what they're doing.
Well, gang, look who's here. The big idea man himself.
Hello, Floyd, Peavy, Judge.
Gildy, I thought you had a date.
Well, Judge, I called it off. I thought I'd better bring this little fellow up to the party.
Time somebody came.
Hello, young man.
Hi, pal.
Hello.
Where are all the kids?
They aren't here.
You straggled up for candy and stuff.
Yeah, but we sang them a couple of songs and they left.
Well, I thought the place would be jumping.
You sure thought up a dud, Commish.
No, Floyd.
Mr. Gildersleeve, do you know what I think of your idea?
What's this, Peavy? Now, fellows, the party was a good idea. But I guess I just thought of it too late.
And I went to all this trouble to look like a bat.
You didn't have to go to much trouble.
Floyd? Well, let's give Mr. Gildersleeve's little friend an apple and a noisemaker, and then I'll go home.
Wait a minute. This little fellow is lost.
Lost?
You don't say.
Yeah, I was hoping there'd be some children here who'd recognize him. His name's Mike.
Mike who?
Mike Smith.
Yeah, Smith.
You're lost, huh, Mike?
Yeah, lost.
Where do you live?
I keep saying I don't know, and I don't.
Well, he's new in town, Floyd. He came to my door just as I was leaving.
Oh, broke up your date, huh? Well, it serves you right for two-timing us Jolly Boys.
Now, Floyd, Gildy's trying to do the right thing.
Well, are you hungry, Mike?
I guess so.
Well, here, have an apple.
Thanks.
And you can fill your pockets with candy.
Thanks.
Be polite, little fellow.
What are you going to do with him, Commish?
Yeah, I don't know. His family isn't listed in the phone book.
Why don't you take the boy to the police station, Gildy?
Gosh.
Judge, the police station ain't no place for a nice little gent like Mike.
I checked with the chief, fellows. Nobody's inquired about a little boy.
Well, it's too early for him to be missed. The kids won't be through soaping windows till about 10 o'clock.
Soaping windows isn't nice.
That's right, Mike.
Well, gee whiz, somebody come up with something. What'll we do with him?
I want to go home.
Okay.
We can take him to my house until we find out where his family is.
Now, let's take him to my house. It's closer.
I want to go home.
You fellas, he rang my doorbell. If we take him any place, we'll take him back to my house.
Well, while you're hashing that out, I'll put on a mask and amuse the boy. Mike, look. How do you like that, Mike?
I want to go home.
I thought that was pretty funny.
Gentlemen, I suggest we take the boy back to Gildy's and conduct the search from there.
Well, let's go. We have to figure out something. Yeah, I'll get it.
Yeah, maybe it's Chief Gates.
Hello? Yes, Chief.
It is the police department.
Be quiet, Judge. What's that, Chief? Yeah, the little fellow's here. You have? Great. What's that? 875 Adams Avenue. We'll take him right over and see if he's the boy. Thanks, Chief. Goodbye.
Buck up, kid. Looks like you're home free.
Well, Mike, the chances are you belong at 875 Adams Avenue.
You think I do?
No doubt about it. Come on now, I'll take you home.
I'm going along, too.
Yeah, me too.
Well, I'm not going to stay here all by myself.
Hey, Commish, what are we going to do with all this Halloween stuff? We got a barrel of it.
That's right. We shouldn't leave it here.
Well, throw it in the car, fellows. We'll divide it later.
Okay.
Your family will be happy to see you, Mike. Do you have any little brothers or sisters?
I don't think so.
What does your father do?
I don't know.
Mike's pretty close-mouthed. He ain't telling nothing.
I don't know nothing to tell.
Well, we'll soon find out something. Come on, men. Pick up the stuff and let's go. I'm sorry the party didn't work out, fellows. I guess we can call it a good Halloween if we get Mike home.
Yeah, it's no fun being lost when you're hardly big enough to find.
Judge, move over a little.
Oh, sorry if I'm crowding you, Gilda.
It isn't that. You're sitting on the marshmallows.
Is that it? I thought your cushions were unusually soft.
What the heck? We got more candy than we know what to do with.
Well, here's Adams Avenue. Isn't this exciting?
If it turns out to be Mike's house, I'm going to blow my horn again.
Does this street look familiar, Mike? Mike?
I believe he's fallen asleep.
He has? Oh, isn't that a picture?
Hey, Pete, let me hold him, will you?
I'm afraid he'll wake up, Floyd. Look, he's got his arm around my neck.
Look for numbers, fellas.
Here's 875, right on the corner.
Are you sure that's 875? That's the children's home.
The children's home? No kidding.
Yes, it is, Floyd.
Well, let's not just sit here and look at each other. Better see if this is where Mike lives. You wake up the little fellow, Petey.
Well, Mike. Mikey boy.
You know where you are, Mike?
Am I home?
We think so, my boy.
Mike, do you recognize this house?
Yeah, sure. That's where I live.
Mike, why didn't you tell us you lived with a lot of other little boys and girls?
Nobody asked me.
By George, we didn't.
Never occurred to me.
Can I go in now?
Yeah, of course, Mike. Yeah, I'll take you up to the door.
Okay.
We'd better wait here in the car, Gilda.
You're all right, Judge. Mike, there's a jack-o'-lantern in the window. Must be having a little party.
Yeah, but they don't have very much.
They don't. Oh, by George, they're going to... Judge! Peavy! Floyd! Unload the car!
Hey, that's a great idea.
And bring the candy and noisemakers. Bring everything.
Help me with these boxes, Peavy.
Gosh, mister, you really mean it?
You bet. This is going to be the best Halloween we've ever had.
The Great Gildersleeve will be with us again in just 30 seconds. Need a hot lunch in a hurry? Then make grilled sandwiches with Kraft's smooth melting pasteurized processed cheese food, Velveeta. With golden Velveeta, you can make delicious sandwiches because Velveeta has such a grand, rich, yet mild cheddar cheese flavor. And Velveeta makes sandwiches so nourishing, too, because it's rich in important food values from milk. Enjoy a quick, easy lunch of grilled Velveeta sandwiches tomorrow. Just be sure you get the cheese food of finest quality, genuine Velveeta, made only by Kraft.
Good night, Mike.
Good night, Mr. Gildersleeve. And thanks for the party.
You don't mention it, my boy. We had a wonderful time.
So did we. Mr. Gildersleeve?
Yes, Mike?
I want to tell you something.
You do?
If I ever have a father, I hope he's just like you.
Thank you, Mike. Bless you, my boy. Good night, folks.
The Great Gildersleeve is played by Willard Waterman. The show is written by John Elliott and Andy White and was partially transcribed. Included in the cast are Walter Tetley, Mary Lee Robb, Lillian Randolph, Earl Ross, Arthur Q. Bryan, Tommy Reddick, and Dick LeGrand. Musical composition by Jack Meakin. This is John Heaston saying goodnight for the Kraft Foods Company, makers of those famous Kraft quality foods. Be sure to listen in next Wednesday and every Wednesday for the further adventures of the Great Gildersleeve.
How can you make a sandwich just the way you like it? Easy. Take some bread, some good cold roast out of the icebox, then add a touch of Kraft's prepared mustard. For when you add a little mustard, you add a lot of tang. Kraft's mustard makes a sandwich just right. Remember, there are two kinds of Kraft mustard to choose from. Kraft salad mustard, mild and delicately spiced, and Kraft mustard with snappy horseradish added. With either kind, when you add a little mustard, you add a lot of tang. Get Kraft's prepared mustard.
Groucho Marx, You Bet Your Life. He's next on NBC.
Good evening. This is Ronald Coleman.
And Benita Coleman.
Inviting you to join us again on the campus of Ivy College as the guests of our sponsors, the Brewers of Schlitz Beer.
The taste of Schlitz. The taste so many people prefer has made Schlitz beer first in sales in the USA. If you like good beer, do as millions of people are doing all over the nation. Ask for Schlitz, the most popular beer in history. And now, the halls of Ivy.
That surround us here today, and we will not forget though we be far away.
Welcome again to Ivy College, that is, in the town of Ivy, USA. On Halloween, by old tradition, evil spirits are allowed to roam the earth after dark and hold high revel until the stroke of midnight, when the chimes usher in the Christian festival of All Saints. As in most places, the inhabitants of Ivy are not all saints, nor very evil, but a varying blend of the two. On this fine November morning, there's little evidence around the campus of Halloween jinx, high or low, as Victoria Hall returns from her marketing to join her husband, William Todhunter Hall, president of Ivy College.
Tony!
Here, Vicky.
Oh, sorry I'm late, but the shops are crowded and the traffic is dreadful. Are you starved?
Well, I wouldn't say starved exactly. This sensation I feel in the pit of the stomach I put down to relief at having passed through another Halloween with no bloodshed, no major damage, and no morning after repercussions. As yet.
Well, send a message to your tissues. Help is on the way. Lunch in a few minutes. Toddy.
Yes?
Did you ever know Mr. Wellman's grandfather?
No, dear, and I didn't know Abraham Lincoln either.
Know what he looked like?
Only from contemporary portraits. Tall, lean, sorrowful.
No, I didn't mean Lincoln. I meant Grandfather Wellman.
Yeah, oh.
Do you know what he looked like?
Only from the bust of him, which stands, if a bust can stand, which reposes, which sits on the back of its neck, what there is of it, in the foyer of Clarence Wellman Hall. It's red sandstone, which gives him an appearance of blushing deeply. Whether of pride in this college or mortification over Clarence, I have never decided.
Did he have a moustache?
Let me think. Yes, I believe 3 generations of Wellmans have had a labial adornment. In Grandfather Wellman's day, when the straight razor made shaving a matter of steel nerves and considerable fortitude, many a loving wife never had the privilege, or the shock, as the case may have been, of seeing her husband's complete face. Nudity of the chin.
What I am trying to get at, darling, with almost no success, is this. Now, did he or did he not have a handlebar moustache? Like you always see in pictures of beauty shop quartets singing Sweet Iodine.
Not Sweet Iodine, my love. It's Adeline.
Oh.
Although equally poisonous when rendered by the wrong voices. And it's a barber shop quartet, not beauty shop.
Oh, well...
female singing groups seem to favor the trio over the quartet. Or probably because being women with an instinct for security, it gives them a 25% smaller risk for discord.
Let's start over.
Certainly. What was the question?
Now, did Mr. Wellman's grandfather have a big soup strainer kind of moustache as worn by the tenor in gay 90s quartets?
Oh, no, not the tenor, darling. That was the trademark of the baritone. Oh, the tenor. The tenor invariably has his eyes closed, seeking divine help in remembering the lyrics, I think. In my young days, I was always the bass, of course.
Yeah, I know. But did Mr. Wellman's...
And a very good one, too, if I may say so. Or I should say, we were quite good. Our rendition of Sweet Adeline, Harvest Moon, and Old Heidelberg is remembered to this day. To this day. Ah, what memories.
Yes, but did Mr. Wellman's grandfather...
Yes, indeed. Georgie Barnes, the baritone. The baritone, superb. Willie Poole, the tenor. Always wanting it a tone lower, of course. Young Bartholomew carrying the air. Off key only in moments of exaltation. Ah, what memories. Old Heidel. Old Heidelberg.
Sure, it was beautiful. What about Mr. Wellman?
Avoided him like the plague, darling. Couldn't carry a tune in a hamper. No sex appeal, no quality. Oh, I'm sorry, my darling. Yes. Wellman, of course. Now, what were we...
Now, I'll try once more. See. Now, did Mr. Wellman's grandfather have a handlebar moustache?
No, he did not.
He has now.
Well, it's possible, I suppose, but inasmuch as he died years ago...
And he has a blue nose. Well, it's a nice character touch, I thought, if he's anything like Clarence.
Vicky, what are you talking about?
Well, that's what I've been trying to tell you. I was passing by Wellman Hall when a crowd of youngsters came boiling out, and I bumped into Eddie Gray, and he told me of the sabotage, the blasphemy, the sacrilege. So I went in, and there it was. Mr. Wellman's grandfather's bust, moustache and all.
Was it bad?
It was awful.
Well, do you think it will wash off?
Well, I gave it a little dab with a damp handkerchief, but it'll take a lot of scrubbing. Oh, yes. I forgot to tell you. On the base of the bust, in black paint...
Yes?
There was written, Prexy loves Wellman.
Vicky, a few minutes ago my heart was singing and the sun was shining, and now my left ear has cupped itself around to the telephone over there.
Yeah, well, it's all right, darling. Wellman's in Philadelphia visiting his sister, poor girl.
Once more my heart is singing and my ear has flopped back.
Not that I'm against the fine arts, of course, but who could have done it to poor old Grandpa Wellman?
Oh, any one of a few hundred students, I should say. After all, last night was Halloween, and you'll often find that...
Darling, will you answer that? I must go and fix my hair.
Yeah, all right, darling. Remarkable woman, Vicky. Finds out everything. Painting the Wellman bust, eh? Ha ha, amusing. Prexy loves Wellman, revolting. Handlebar moustache. Old Heidelberg.
All right, Uncle.
Ah, Mr. Merriweather, come in. And how is the more rational element of the Board of Governors today?
In the absence of our chairman, Doctor, I'm convalescing, and all is quiet. The other knights of the Round Table have doffed their armor and are resting on their swords. So I took my shield and got the helmet out of there.
To pursue your analogy, Mr. Merriweather, am I to understand you visualize Mr. Wellman as King Arthur?
Heaven forfend, Sir Lancelot. My knowledge of the Arthurian legends is somewhat sketchy, but I'd be inclined to place dear Clarence somewhere between the jealous King Mark and Sir Mordred of melancholy memory.
It's a good thing you don't have the responsibility of casting Tristan and Isolde for the Wagner Festival.
I would be more tempted to see Wellman in the part of the sword Excalibur for the pleasure of seeing him thrown into the lake. Say, not so bad for a boy who got straight D's in medieval history. Where's the Lady Guinevere?
Up in the North Tower, combing her tresses by her casement window, scanning the horizon to see which sail comes from France, black or white.
White if it's me, black if it's Wellman.
Why, it is. Welcome, Mr. Merriweather. What on earth are you two talking about?
About the days of old.
When knights were bold.
And ships had wooden decks.
And warriors bold
fell down the hold.
And broke their...
Careful, ma'am.
Sturdy necks.
You know, I was exposed to quite a bit of education in my day, but the only times I ever feel that it took is when I'm over here.
Well, I'll come over here more often. You can be a visitor cum laude.
Thank you. Thank you. Doctor, I am the bearer of glad tidings.
Oh?
Did you know that they are at last improving Faculty Row? The street, I mean.
Good.
Well, it's about time. It's bad enough for a college to get into a rut, but for all those ruts to get into a college.
Well, perhaps I should say they started excavating yesterday. Today, all is quiet as the grave. In fact, one long grave has been dug, and there she lies.
Good heavens, who?
Oh, no, ma'am, not that. I mean, one deep trench was scooped out and then abandoned.
Oh.
But why? Today is not a holiday. Did anyone call the department?
All the necessary departments and authorities have been called, and all profess ignorance of any order for street improvements along Faculty Row. Grogan of our campus police reports that the road gang was equipped with all of the usual paraphernalia, including a truck bearing the sign of John Smith Contractor. Grogan further reports that the supervising gravedigger, or I should say excavator, submitted a permit which purported to be an authorization from the Ivy Board of Governors.
Signed by whom?
By none other than our respected chairman, Clarence Wellman.
Well, then what's wrong? Why don't they get on with the job?
A, there is no such firm in these parts as the J. Smith Contracting Company. B, the board never authorized the work, such improvement having been constantly opposed by Mr. Wellman himself. C...
But the signature, was it a forgery? Doesn't Grogan recognize the signature?
Grogan tells me that he writes twice a year to his half-sister in North Platte, Nebraska, period. Thus, he would not know Mr. Wellman's signature if it bit him, which is unlikely, in the leg.
This is very interesting. An anonymous excavation. Well, if this is another Halloween prank...
Well, exactly where did all this happen? At which end of Faculty Row did they start digging up? I didn't see it near here.
This, I hate to tell you, neither end. Right in the middle.
Oh, no. Oh, you don't mean... Oh, no.
Yes, ma'am. Plumb smack dab in front of the house of Wellman.
Vicky.
Yeah, Toddy. Well, what's new on the Halloween front?
All is reasonably quiet. 2 red lights are marking the spot where the body should be buried.
Meaning Wellman?
No, darling, no. Let us not daydream so late in the evening. No, so that nobody should fall into the hole in the dark.
Oh.
And we've discovered the name of the culprit. The same one seems to have committed both crimes. And in each case he is, or calls himself, John Smith.
An obvious pseudo thing. It's a nom de bus. The thousands of John Smiths.
Yes, as a matter of fact, a young cousin of mine married one. As Mr. and Mrs. John Smith, Their honeymoon tour through the motels and resorts of the great Northwest was a series of acute embarrassments.
What'd they do, buy a tent?
After 10 days, they registered everywhere under the name of Finkelhoff. But it seems to be right at my elbow for once. Hello, Dr. Hall speaking.
Thought this might interest you, Doctor.
Oh, yes, Mr. Merriweather.
Got a telegram here from Wellman in Philadelphia. It says, and I quote, have made arrangements through personal connections here for road improvements, Faculty Row, desperately needed, as I have always claimed. Feel sure entire board will approve, returning tomorrow, Wellman, unquote.
Well, that explains everything.
Oh, now, Doctor, your college training is sufficiently adequate for you to do your own simple addition. I'm not telling you what 2 and 2 add up to. Pardon me if I appear to end on a preposition on a sour note. Goodbye.
What did he say? What did he say? What did he say?
He thinks I should be able to add 2 and 2. But in this case, Vicky, it's not that simple. It gets into vulgar fractions.
Oh, but darling, if it's anything vulgar, you know you can always tell me.
Well, it says like this. Clarence Wellman has made arrangements for the repaving of Faculty Row, after someone had already begun work on it. Now I must find someone who owns a scalpel and a microscope.
A scalpel and a microscope?
Yes, someone has been reading Clarence's mind.
Walking past the boardroom at Ivy the other day, just as the Board of Governors was breaking up after an important session. Suddenly, my ears were assaulted by a very familiar voice. A voice...
Carpenter, I say there, Mr. Carpenter.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Wellman. Well, you look happy. What's wrong?
Wrong? Nothing wrong. Business is good. The board just slashed the departmental appropriation, and you must realize, being in business yourself, commerce, that is.
Well, now that you mention it, Mr. Wellman, we might as well say world commerce. I represent Schlitz beer, you know, the beer that made Milwaukee famous. The beer
I know all that, Carpenter. I must say that it's common knowledge. Why do you buttonhole me and give me a sales talk?
Well, I didn't.
Schlitz beer, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, very familiar name. S-H-L-I-T-Z.
No. Pardon, Mr. Wellman. It's S-C-H-L-I-T-Z. You left out the C.
I said S-C-H-L-I-T-Z. Oh, I thought I did, didn't I? Well, what's just one letter?
Well, in this particular case, it's very important, but ordinarily I'd say...
Schlitz beer. It's the one beer I've given Mrs. Wellman proof I need to store in our refrigerator.
What has storing Schlitz in your refrigerator got to do with being chairman of the Board of Governors, Mr. Wellman?
A silly question, Carpenter. Obvious, as chairman of the board, watchdog of the Treasury, always by quality. No appropriations unless, well, good heavens, Carpenter, as a businessman...
Mr. Wellman...
What is it?
I'm sorry.
I wasn't through yet, Carpenter. I just want to say that our quality product, Carpenter, justifies an appropriation, and Schlitz beer is. The best is none too good for someone who... am I making myself clear, Carpenter?
Oh, yes, perfectly clear, Mr. Wellman. Not only to me, but to millions of Americans who are enjoying Schlitz, the most popular beer in history.
Glad to hear it. Couldn't happen to a finer beer.
Thank you.
Mr. Carpenter, I must be off now. Got to check up on the supplies in our refrigerator.
Well, a pleasant good afternoon to you, Mr. Wellman. Not just from me, but from Schlitz, too. As we return to the halls of Ivy, Dr. Hall arrives home a little late from a busy afternoon to find his wife, Victoria, curious to hear the latest bulletins.
Darling, come in and shut the door and sit here by the fire. And now, tell me about the ditch and the bust.
The ditch and the... Oh, yes. You mean the Halloween business.
Yes.
Well, I've been almost too busy to consider it, really.
Well, I can't see that you're responsible for it anyway, unless there's a student back of it. On the other hand, I don't think you're quite immune. I don't see how we can sit here, inert and inept, or am I being inane?
On the contrary, darling, you are being extremely ain. I flatter myself that I am both ert and ept, if not wholly immune. And in staunchly defending the neglected positive, I am not only pertinent, but sipid. However, there does seem to be a student involved.
What, a John Smith?
Strangely enough, we have two at Ivy, it seems. It rather points to a third-year student, a John Smith Jr. He has asked to see me and is coming over.
Toddy, what about Wellman's message? Surely he couldn't make use of his position as chairman of the Board of Governors to give out contracts.
Oh, I prefer not to think so. I think Merriweather jumped to some sinister conclusion, but we'll know all about it tomorrow when... It'll be young Smith, no doubt. Thank you, Vicky, if you'll show him in.
Yeah, I will. And if he says his name's Finkelhoff, I'll scream.
How do you do, Mrs. Hall? I'm John Smith.
Well, John Smith, come in. Dr. Hall is waiting for you.
Thank you.
Ah, Smith, glad to see you. Take a seat.
Forgive me, Dr. Hall, if I impinge on your valuable time.
No impingement, I assure you.
I think Dr. Hall likes all his students to pinge occasionally. I hope I'm being prudent.
I beg your pardon, Mrs. Hall?
It's all right, Smith. Mrs. Hall is brushing up on her neglected positives and is inclined to get a little... you wanted to see me?
Yes, I did. Dr. Hall, it has been well said that an idle tongue is the offspring of an empty mind.
Yes.
And that the prattle of fools is as the sound of an ill-tuned cymbal.
Well, I don't for the moment recognize...
It is a lamentable, although no doubt natural, corollary of the world's situation today, Dr. Hall, that your valuable time and mine should have to be wasted by the foolish pranks of adolescence. It has been brought to my attention that certain members of the student body are laboring under the delusion that I am guilty of decorating works of art with facial adornment and in indulging in sabotage along Faculty Row.
Well, your assurance, Mr. Smith, that you had nothing to do with such foolishness is good enough. And I appreciate your coming to see me. How long have you been at Ivy?
I am commencing my third year, Dr. Hall. And may I say that in spite of certain elements here that are to be deplored, I regard Ivy College not only as my alma mater, but as ne plus ultra.
Ne plus...
Latin. Meaning, of course, nothing finer. And what are you majoring in, Smith?
Latin.
Naturally.
And I am applying myself to courses in political economy and in public speaking.
Well, you should study some of my husband's speeches.
Oh, I do, Mrs. Hall. All of them. May I say that I pattern my phraseology and diction along the lines of Dr. Hall?
Well, you're doing fine, John.
I would like to add, Mrs. Hall, that I regard him as my...
Ne plus ultra?
Precisely.
Yes, thank you. But to return to the subject under first discussion, Smith. Now, have you any light to throw on this Halloween matter? Do you know who did it? How did your name become mixed up in it? Are you or have you ever been a member
Darling, the Fifth Amendment.
Oh, yes. As I was saying...
Excuse me, sir. My father has been visiting me here, and I know he wants to meet you. I believe he might throw more light on this mystery than anyone. I think it would be well if you talked with him.
By all means, I shall be happy to meet him.
Then I will take my leave. Mrs. Hall, good day.
Good day.
Yeah, and thank you for coming. Oh, before you go, that quotation, the prattle of fools is as
an ill-tuned cymbal.
Ah, yes. Very good. I can't quite place the authorship.
My own, Dr. Hall.
Oh. Very good indeed.
Except for the ill-tuned cymbal. I borrowed that from Sir Francis Bacon. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
My husband will be down in a minute, Mr. Smith. Please sit down. Well, your son just left here half an hour ago.
What did you think of him?
Well, he...
A bit of a punk, eh?
Oh, no. He's young. Of course, he's clever.
Young, clever, yes. But what are we going to do with him? He's got blinkers on. Can't see right or left. How can you judge if you only see straight ahead? Might as well be a horse. Oh, Dr. Hall, I believe.
Smith, I'm glad to see you. I heard your last remark, and I agree. It's only by seeing on all sides that one is enabled to evaluate what's ahead.
That's right. That's why Junior doesn't laugh. No sense of fun. Took him on a roller coaster when he was a kid, and he kept asking questions about centrifugal force.
Well, I think with a little help and guidance, Ivy can broaden his view.
That's why I sent him here.
But we don't claim to work miracles. Science has yet to succeed in isolating the germ of humor. I personally believe that lacking the ability to create humor, the next best thing is to cultivate an appreciation of it, which I think is largely a matter of acquiring a sense of proportion. I've no doubt that when and if your son learns that dignity without humor is pomposity, he might relax a bit. We don't train students to be circus clowns, Mr. Smith, but we do believe that a man who cannot smile is not fully educated.
Well, that sounds like good sense. I don't expect you to teach him to go around with loaded cigars, cackling like a maniac, but he's pretty stealthy. He's a good boy. Honest, loyal.
Oh, yes. Yes, his loyalty to Ivy is unquestioned. And he refused to give away the practical joker of last night's escapade, although I felt sure he knew who it was.
That's right, Doctor. He did.
Well, do you know who caused all the trouble?
I do, ma'am.
Well, can you tell us who did it?
I did.
You did?
You did.
Mrs. Hall, last night was Halloween. Years ago, when other kids were going around tearing up the town, Junior was up in his room, reading. Well, I arrived here yesterday to see the boy, of course, but I looked up my old friend Wellman, out of town. Then Jackson in biology, down with the flu. So I went around town with Junior. Saw a couple of youngsters hanging a cap and gown on old Bradford's TV antenna. Junior disapproved. Another bunch of kids were... Well, I won't give them away in front of the doctor here. But Junior disapproved. Just then we were passing Wellman Hall, and there was the bust of old Grandpa, looking as smug as ever. And, well, I couldn't resist it. You know the rest.
Yes, but carving up Faculty Row, did you?
I'm the John Smith Contracting Company of Philadelphia, Dr. Hall. I can't afford to give $1 million to Ivy, but Ivy's where I place my hopes for Junior. And a year ago, I ruined the springs of my car and wrenched my sacroiliac, bumping along that gall-darn death trap I call Casualty Row. So I told Wellman I'd fix it for him for nothing.
Oh, that was very generous of you, Mr. Smith.
Yesterday, seeing he'd take no action in the matter, I dug a hole outside his door. Just to give him a laugh. Don't often get a chance to mix business with pleasure. Now I'll finish the road for you and give you the finest surface this side of the big city.
Well, I think that's wonderful. Surface with a smile, I always say.
A happy and profitable ending. Thank you, Mr. Smith.
So goodbye, Doctor, Mrs. Hall.
Oh, must you go?
Yes, I must be on my way. And, look after the boy, won't you?
We will.
Yes.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Well, Vicky, we're going to have a new Faculty Row. Now we'll have to find a way to repay Mr. Smith by doing something for Junior, who doesn't seem to concur with the old verse which I have just revised for Halloween.
What verse?
Wake me early, mother dear, for I'm to be queen of the mayhem.
Oh.
And Vicky, hand me the telephone, will you? I think I'll call up the School of Horticulture.
What, this time of the evening? What do you want, some nightshade?
No, I was just thinking, if an onion can make one weep, what a fortune awaits the man who can grow a vegetable to make one laugh.
Halls of Ivy, starring Mr. and Mrs. Ronald Coleman, has been presented by Schlitz, the beer that made Milwaukee famous. The taste of Schlitz, the taste so many people prefer, has made Schlitz beer first in sales in the USA. Why don't you, too, enjoy the most popular beer in history? Next time, every time, ask for Schlitz beer. Now, here again are Mr. and Mrs. Ronald Coleman.
Good night, everybody.
Good night from all of us.
And from our sponsor, the Joseph Schlitz Brewing Company of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and its thousands of friendly dealers throughout the nation.
Good night.
Good night. We'll be seeing you next week at this same time at the Halls of Ivy, starring Mr. and Mrs. Ronald Coleman. Mr. Merriweather was played by Gale Gordon. John Smith Sr. was Hanley Stafford, and John Smith Jr. was Charles Smith. Tonight's script was written by Ronald Coleman and Don Quinn. Music was composed and conducted by Henry Russell. The Halls of Ivy was created by Don Quinn, directed by Nat Wolf, and presented by the Joseph Schlitz Brewing Company of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We invite you to enjoy on television the Schlitz Playhouse of Stars with Helen Hayes, Margaret Sullivan, Walter Hampton, and more of the brightest names of Hollywood and Broadway. See your newspaper for time and channel. Ken Carpenter speaking.
Glory